Hey everybody, and welcome to the Ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow, the only show here on the Outlaw Nation YouTube channel that breaks down the previous week in all things Schmoedown. My name is John Barr, I am your host. I've seen 3 episodes of Star Wars Visions, and they were pretty good. Next up, of course, joining me is the wonderful gentleman here on my right, Boggs. How are you doing this fine Saturday?
I'm all good, man. I have seen all of the Star Wars Visions episodes. But my favorite episode is episode 9. So watch out for that one. So it's not everyone's favorites, but it's just mine. I'd like to know your thoughts afterwards. But
there we go.
Apart from that, all good. Happy to have a king and a beast on the show today. So can't wait to
That's right.
These guys.
It's going to be an absolute blast. But of course, before we get to our 2 wonderful guests, we have to also say hello to our third dear, delightful co-host here, Saul. How are you doing today?
Hello. I just wow, you look so cute starting it when you're like this. And second question for Star Wars Visions, subbed or dubbed?
I watched the first 2 dubbed, and then I started the third one dubbed, but Alison Brie, fantastic actress, great voice acting. Anytime she acts angry, she simply sounds like Miss Piggy. So then we just had to go ahead and turn on those subs. But it's a preference thing, huh? Everything's fine. And I just had to be cute because we had to bring up the energy from last week. As everybody, of course, famously remembers, I was famously tired last week.
And you got told off.
Day. And I'll tell you what, gang, if our pre-production meeting is any sign, this is not going to be a tired episode. It's going to be pure chaos, which is also fun in its own way. So let's make sure we try and stay on those rails by first of all saying, we thank you so much for coming in and watching. Don't forget, I already see Jeremy Miller there in the comments along the sidebar. Don't forget, you can comment along with us. We love to read those. Any Streamlabs or Super Chats you send in, we always deeply appreciate. And if you want, you can also join the Patreon, patreon.com/John Roca, to be able to ask our phenomenal guests some incredible questions. Hey, speaking of those guests, we have 2 guests on that are going to be talking about some matches that are already public on the Schmoedown YouTube channel. But don't forget, we will be talking about the pay-per-view from last night. So if you have not seen that, go run, buy those tickets, watch it, and then come right back because there's going to be some spoilers. And then last but not least, before we open up and talk about these 4 incredible matches, 1 from each division, which is a fun little treat. We get to see everything the Schmoedown's got to offer. We first have to look back on last week and the comments that y'all left for us at the bottom of the video. Soul, what did the people have to say?
Well, speaking of Jeremy Miller, he says, great show. I love the passion that the Outlaw and Paige bring to the Schmoedown. Yet 2 very passionate players, and that's why they've gotten so much love.
Oh, yeah. I needed that energy, too. I stand by my comment that Roca just saying, wake up!
Now that just needs to be your alarm every morning. Roca saying, wake up.
I'll put it in GarageBand, see if I can get him.
And the next one from Drunken Prayer, loved having the Outlaw on again, and Paige was awesome as always. There's some grammar there, but you know what? He is from Scotland, so we'll forgive him.
Yeah, they don't have grammar up there. Down there? Geography.
They just mumble a lot.
Now we have from Chris Taylor, this was fantastic episode. Was glad that Paige enjoyed my question. I think she liked everyone's questions. They were really good questions. Join the Patreon. You can ask questions. Then we have Paolo, Lira, Merle, Roca, Levine, and Mike. This is my Schmoedown Rushmore in no particular order.
Oh, Merle, Roca, Levine, and Mike. I'm assuming
Kalinowski,
but I guess we can't say for sure.
It's Mike Shea.
I'd put him on mine for sure. Absolutely.
And then we have Dragon17. Can't put Kalinowski in there because he's never won the singles title. This is in quotation marks. LOOOL, what a bad take. You also said Cushing, and she never won the singles title either. Sorry, but Mike has a better resume than Rachel and than everyone else except Merle. So we got some heat being thrown back.
Oh, no, they were defending Mike. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Because Rickard said he wouldn't consider Mike for his last ride, right? So I think this guy's opposed to Roka's choice, I guess. But
I mean,
that's an opinion.
My Mount Rushmore is simply for Dale the Dude, so I'm not really having any stake in this game.
And then the last one's from Sean Wingblade. Excuse me. Hi, Ken here. I'd like to speak to the manager of TUSA. You have a 2-hour show and ignore the FCL completely. Give them 5 minutes. Do better. Don't forget the stars of next year or they'll forget you.
Who's that again?
I've had multiple pleasant conversations with Sean, so I didn't see that shit coming at all. My goodness. Sean, we follow each other on Twitter. My dear sweet boy.
And he's going by Ken now.
Oh yeah. Wow. Is that just like a reference to that's what male Karens are? Are they called Kens? Is that what's going on?
I guess so.
I think it's an FCL joke. Who cares? But
anyway,
hey, Joe, Sean.
I'm joking. Sean, if you think I didn't bookmark Zaflirtenflaus versus Warfather right away, you're the leak with one of my dear friends, Sean. Of course, I think about you all the time, Sean. You're never far. Hey, Sean, we'll talk later, but I can't get you out of my mind. Anyway, the first match we're going to be talking chaotic energy, as promised. All right, let's see if we can get this maybe back on the rails with our first incredible guest. He is a returning guest, as Boggs mentioned. He is, of course, the king. He's one of the newfound greats that we've got. You know, you want to talk about stars of tomorrow. This is a star of today, baby. He's been making a name for himself, unfortunately, out of that singles tournament, but I would say more than made up for it with an incredible team's performance that avenged that singles loss. Everybody, please make some noise for the wonderful, the gracious King Khan.
Oh, please don't. No.
Oh, everybody stop.
We give you.
How you doing today, dude?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Excellent. I'm doing all right. I didn't think about this until now, but I'm sort of in like a Luigi cosplay, which is kind of fun. And a little bit, with the mustache, the green.
Are you Charlie Day? Or...
Oh, if only. Are you kidding? I would die. Oh, I would die. To be in Pacific Rim Uprising?
If you replace Chris Pratt, then it could be you and Charlie Day.
Oh my God! Listen, I'll take the 23andMe and I'll make Chris Pratt take it. We'll figure out which of us is more Italian. Get to the bottom of. Oh, did anyone else hear that?
That's me. Yeah, sorry.
Was that the Batman soundtrack? My goodness. Well. King Khan, I hope it was not a sore subject for me to start your introduction with the Lon Harris singles match. But yeah, I mean, I have to ask, you are not somebody that has ever stricken me as being afraid going into a match or particularly nervous. But obviously, this first teams match that you had with your new teammate, Griffey Arthur Nooms, did happen to be against the one person who's been able to hand you an L so far in this game, which is Lon Harris. So I will ask, going into this match, where was your mindset at as far as approaching someone that you had previously faced before?
I mean, on one hand, I was up for the challenge because I wanted the redemption from losing the lawn. The other one was like, wow, this is really the first round of the tournament. And you're putting us up against these two gentlemen. So me and Griffin both went in with a confident mindset, but like in the back of our heads, we're like, we do need to bring our A game. So.
Absolutely. And I have to ask, how's the hotel ambiance? Like, were the concierges at least like helpful? Did anyone bring you some water?
We somehow got no weird looks, no managers coming up to us asking why we're answering movie trivia questions in a hotel lobby. So I guess that's a win. But yeah.
Maybe they were all watching along. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We don't plan to continue streaming from a hotel lobby for future matches, though.
Okay, well, then I mean, you're leaving a gimmick on the table, but you
can't do it twice. People are just gonna get tired of it after a while. Yeah.
That's you got to keep it fresh. I understand completely. Yeah. Well, looking at this first round, I'll say y'all certainly kept it fresh, leading the first round with 2 points. A couple misses on the board scattered throughout. Lon Harris missing the 2016 release date question. You, Lon, and Paul all missing the Danny Glover question. I believe putting Tim Allen. Is that correct?
We all put Tim Allen, yeah.
That's right. The Santa Claus himself. Unfortunately, you were the only competitor to miss the True Lies question, but it was easily made up for by the fact that Griffey Arthur Nooms happened to get the perfect round and the bonus. Now, when Roku was on our show last week, he mentioned that, like, specifically while y'all were training, when you were training, Griffey Arthur Nooms specifically said that he wanted you as his partner. So I'm kind of curious, like, when did this camaraderie, like, first come into place, and how much have y'all been able to, like, spend time together, chat, and train for this?
So at the beginning of the year, our faction had a mini free-for-all. with every single person on the Finstock Exchange, including Gucci. He also participated. By the end, Griffin won. He won the free-for-all. And then I performed well enough that he specifically requested I be his partner. We didn't find out until later that it was official from Gucci and upper management. But yeah, we saw how good we worked together during scrimmages. So we just thought this is a natural fit and we can make a run for the belt. So that's how it happened.
Absolutely. And it was easy to see that considering that you were going up against Final Exam, one of the more pre-established teams at this point in time, getting set up last season and having a lot of great runs in them. Bugs, I'll toss it over to you. What were your thoughts coming out of this round one?
Yeah, he gave them their final exam, like he said in the promo. So that was a fun tie. But then you kept pace. Obviously it's your first teams match. First kind of experience going through that. In a strange environment as well. Obviously in the hotel lobby and stuff. So how does it feel just to get in the kind of first round in your first teams match? Did you do anything different in preparation before? Because maybe this is the kind of match where you were the biggest underdog. As opposed to previous singles matches that were more like 50-50. So what was your kind of approach going in?
I think the only thing I did different was I did use a JT in round one, which I hadn't done before. And I thought I needed to, even though we only have 3, I thought I needed to just to keep pace with Paul and Lon. Because on that question, it was the Jude Law one. I knew the rest of them knew it. So I had to make sure I had the correct answer. So I think that's the only thing I did different. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it wound up kind of balancing out well in your favor as well, because I think Final Exam had used up 2 earlier on in their second round, because I remember Paul specifically being like, hey, we only got the 1 left. We got to use that sparingly. And obviously that sort of came into play when it came to their final question, but that's looking a little bit too ahead because we have to talk about the dual opponents' choices here that y'all got dealing with. Obviously, you guys going first, getting the Wizarding World category. Getting an 8 out of a possible 12 points, that's nothing to sneeze at all. For an opponent's choice, only 2 questions left on the board. Very impressive. But then Final Exam also having an impressive run with the movie release date's opponent's choice, getting a 10 out of a possible 12 points.
I believe it was 9. But
it was 9. I am bad at math.
Not to correct you on your own show. But
no, and that makes more sense because I mean,
it's your match, so
25 to 23 coming out of round 2, I believe, is the correct math. So I got it right somehow by pure happenstance. It's magic, much like Harry Potter and his friends do in the Wizarding World. So yeah, I am curious just to ask, like, how much of a Harry Potter fan you are and how much that then played into your thoughts having to face down the Wizarding World opponent's choice.
Unlike some competitors who I won't name names, I am not completely opposed to IG slices being used in singles. I did see that I was on the wheel, so I knew they put it on. We were prepared for that possibility, even though we didn't necessarily want it. And so when we got the category, we hit most of the questions, just a few specific ones tripped us up. And but I think it's a good learning experience for next time.
Absolutely. Am I right that Queenie is a character that only appears in the Fantastic Beasts movies?
Yes.
Then you can be forgiven for not remembering.
That's literally what Griffin said. He was like, we missed a quote from Fantastic Beasts movie. We don't have to feel that bad.
Yeah. I want to toss it on over to Saul, who, of course, is Team S.W.A.G all the way down. But also, Saul, I know a big Harry Potter fan. So what were your thoughts about this round 2?
Hey, I even got that quote question wrong because who cares about the Fantastic Beasts movies? So, but whenever I see opponent's choice, I'm like, oh man, tough break for that team. And the great part is when the second team gets opponent's choice. I love to see that because it's really strategy there. What are you going to give your opponents, and how are they going to do with getting what is supposed to be their worst category? And so it really tests, and you really get to see how well a team is. And I think both teams did really well with their opponent's choice, and it shows how strong you and Griffey are as a team and how veteran Final Exam is as well. Both teams did really well in round 2.
Yeah. I think they did slightly better, but yeah.
Hey,
they didn't
like I said, we forgive Fantastic Beasts quote
true.
Questions.
I do have a couple of questions about round 2, Con. So obviously, you guys did go first, and how do you think that round went? Because obviously, to be honest, I did feel like their communication was a lot more kind of flow better than your guys. Obviously, they're way more experienced in teams. I just want to know your overall thoughts. Because playing in the lobby, why didn't you guys sit together?
I think because we had to be on 2 different screens, just as mandated by the league. And if we did sit too close to each other, the mics would pick up each other's audio. We'd have to keep muting back and forth and whatnot. So we sat far enough apart where we're still in the same room, but not interfering with the audio. So
that's actually a good point. I remember that being sort of a point of contention with one of Lightning Time's matches, where unfortunately Ethan and Liz were sharing a mic, and therefore like you couldn't really hear Ethan. Yeah. Because it was mostly just positioned towards Liz. So I think that makes it, production, gang. It's all in. I mean, nobody would ever know that me and Boggs are in the same house. Just because we have to keep things...
Same color wall, so yeah.
Exactly. The one color landlords ever allow.
But in terms of the communication, yeah, it was, looking back, it was a bit rushed. I think being in the lobby kind of added to the anxiety of it because we're not used to it. But I think... for future matches, we will learn to talk more because we did answer before they even started the 5 count, I think. So just taking your time, knowing that you still have 15 seconds, you can use repeats to try and get the correct answer is a good thing to learn for next time.
Absolutely. Moving. Oh, actually, before we move on to round 3, that brings up an interesting point because I also want to talk to you a little bit about the fact that you are one of the players who started in the digital space and then got to have an experience in a live match. At the Scum and Villainy Cantina. And again, not going to talk about other players, but you are one of the players where even taking a loss, you still seem to acclimate to the live environment fairly well. So especially now, kind of like having several different experiences of like purely playing in your house, in your own home, to then playing live in a studio with a full crowd, to then playing in a hotel with your competitor who's there, but he's not really there. He can't really be there logistically. Yeah. So, like, how has it been kind of like bouncing around to these different environments, and how much do you feel like it affects your groove? I
mean, at the end of the day, I'm just answering movie trivia. I'm putting on a show also, but I think no matter what the environment is, I can succeed no matter the venue. So it's just getting more comfortable with doing the character while answering trivia. That's the hard part for me.
Absolutely. And it's especially tough when you're going up against Lon Harris twice, who has often been hailed as like the person who's got the most like character game on point. Obviously second to John Roca, of course.
It was hard not to laugh when Lon literally is wearing his hat over his headphones, making it look extra big.
Well, that's going to be one of the things I miss in the teams division when it comes to next year, because unfortunately, well, not unfortunately for you, you all happen to win your match, getting your 2, 3, and your 5-pointer, that Girl 6 Tarantino cameo, which I thought was a great pull. And then, unfortunately, final exam, getting the 2 and the 3, but missing that 4 Queen and Country 5-pointer. And, it's tough because, I wrote this down here in my notes. Obviously, Denzel Washington, he's playing Macbeth. You don't talk about Macbeth in the theater. You know this. You talk about Macbeth in the theater, that's death. And unfortunately, in this case, it happened to be literal for the team itself because Winston more or less confirmed that, like, I'm not drafting both of you together next year. And so, yeah, like I asked about earlier, not only did you avenge your loss to Lon Harris, you done went and killed his team. You done buried him.
We put the final blow, I guess this is what you.
I mean, not just, Flickinger, Goddard, and our final exam. Damn.
Yeah, I mean,
the king is brutal.
I can't help myself, apparently. Yeah, I mean, it is a shame to, just as a fan of the Schmoedown, to see them possibly not be a team next year, but they gave us a run for our money, so all props to them.
Absolutely. And then, just kind of looking forward to your next match, obviously. Next time around, y'all will presumably be back in your homes, maybe in a live environment, though I don't know how much they're pushing to get teams back in studio with Scum and Villainy spacing. So what do you think for you personally is going to be the number one thing you focus on in your next team's match?
I think it's just being, because I was a little hesitant to interfere when Griffin sounded so confident with an answer, because during the Peter Pettigrew Wizarding World question, I wanted to throw that out there as the possible answer, but he sounded so confident that I just kind of went with it, which looking back obviously was the wrong choice. But so yeah, I think just speaking up, knowing that he trusts me as a teammate to correct him if he's wrong is the big thing to work on.
Absolutely. And yeah, it all comes down to, again, just like that time spent together as a team. Like Boggs was saying, part of the reason final exam looked so polished is because they've been doing this now for almost 2 years. So yeah, I think That makes a lot of sense, man, and I'm definitely excited to see that. Saul, do you have any questions as well for King Khan?
To comment on that round 3, I'm always happy when a Cool Runnings and a Coming to America question gets asked, especially in the same match. So that was nice to see. The King Khan. You have possibly huge opponents next. We don't know who next.
We'll find out very soon.
We'll find out very soon. But how are you guys going to go into that? Because I know that it's another, either you're getting Deception, which is like you got the
current champ and a former
champ and a former champ. And then who are they playing?
Chaos Theory.
A new team, also very exciting there. So who do you want out of those? We don't know who it's going to be. Who do you want out of those two?
I think either one. I did make the comment that Griffin's already beaten Jacoby, but either team we play would be a good match because we know how good all 4 of those players are. Maybe Chaos Theory less so, but they are all very promising players. So a Deception would be probably the tougher test, but we got to be prepared for either scenario. So.
Absolutely. It's very interesting as well thinking about the possibility of King Arthur versus Deception, because obviously Deception are kind of the gold standard for rookies last year, where obviously Adam Collins immediately going through the singles tournament, and then Marisol racking up enough wins and acclaim to get herself in contention this current season. But then obviously when folks are talking about the gold standard for rookies this year, people are just continuously saying more and more, we should have listened to Tom Dagnino, because now they're looking to folks like you, like Griffey Nooms, and specifically kind of the Finstock Exchange as a whole when it comes to the gold standard of rookies. So I got to ask, as far as, what you think the come up has been, do you feel like you and the Finstock Exchange roster have built on the kind of reputation that folks like Deception were able to build last year and then just continuously one-up it?
I mean, yeah, look, we started maybe in a like we're playing weaker opponents, obviously, but as we work our way up, our level of play is just matching the opponent. And so I think what Gucci and all of them did with the dossier and the draft is coming to fruition. We're not getting the title shots yet, but I've said on other shows that it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And so if we can get matches that spectacular, which are title shots, then we have a chance to catapult into the lead and possibly win faction title. So
absolutely. We saw that with Corruption last year.
Yeah, there's still a lot of Schmoedown left.
Absolutely. And any talk of y'all have had to face weaker opponents, that can kind of be thrown out the window considering.
You could say that. You could maybe say that. You could maybe say that at the beginning of the year when I'm playing someone who's not in the league anymore. But yeah, now we're playing like actual established veterans.
Yeah, it's adult Schmoedown now. Now it's really time. You've proven that you deserve to be in contention against Flickenshire, but now you prove that you deserve to be in the conversation when it comes to this final exam win. Yeah. Boggs, do you have any other questions for King Khan?
Absolutely, yeah, a couple. So, first of all, did you know that their 5.0, the Denzel one?
So I'm not going to reveal if I knew it or not, but I will say when Oyama very confidently said the Mighty Quinn, my heart sank a little bit. I was like, crap, we might have just lost. Then Ellis says, and your winner, King Arthur. I was ecstatic. So
yeah, because I was looking at his filmography at the time it was answering because I didn't know. And so apparently this British movie, and because I did look up the rest of the cast and they're all they're all independent or B movie actors who are in football hooligan movies, or I've seen them as extras in dramas, TV soap dramas, and with Denzel. It's such a weird thing. So yeah, I thought that was anyone who knows that. Wow, I've never seen that personally, but just going towards the kind of later on in the year, and they talk about the rookie of the season, rookie of the year. Obviously, you've got Harper in the conversation, and there's kind of a bunch of you guys in the Finstock Exchange. Probably. Arthur Nooms at the forefront of that. Who do you say, in your opinion, is the rookie of the year, or should be? You put yourself in there as well. Why not? But yeah, who do you think kind of would pick? Is it Nooms because of the singles and the kind of broadness of it, or is it Harper? Being this Star Wars champ and stuff. So I just want to know your overall thoughts on that.
I mean, yeah, Harper does have the belt now, so I guess right now you should say him. But after what you just saw from Griffey Nooms being the only one to pitch a perfect round in round one. And what you're going to see him do to Horowitz in New York next week, go get your tickets. I think he is absolutely in contention for the year, and I don't just say that because he's my teammate. He's legitimately good. I've never told this story before, but during a scrimmage once, he stumped IMDb. IMDb had an incorrect fact about a movie, and Griffin knew what the actual answer was. So,
okay. Are you going to New York?
Here first.
I will unfortunately not be going. I have work obligations, but I will definitely be cheering on from the sidelines. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wait, quick point of clarification, because this came up also this week. Did he stump IMDb or the Ty MBD? Because we know that's a thing.
No one can stump the Ty MDB.
Certainly.
Besides horror, apparently. No, I can. If you want to know, I can tell you what the fact he did that he.
Go ahead, yeah.
Only if you feel like it. I don't want to make you feel pressure.
I don't know if they would ever ask this. So it's about Ocean's 11, the Soderbergh one. He knew that Viola Davis voices the parole officer at the beginning with Clooney. So it's off screen. You can only hear her voice. And he knew that was Viola Davis. That is not listed anywhere on Wikipedia or IMDb. And he knew that. So, wow.
So as in it's not in her filmography?
It's not in her filmography listed anywhere on any of the major sites. That is Viola Davis.
But she did say, now, stay out of trouble. I'm going to go form the Suicide Squad. So that should have been a
giveaway. That should have been a giveaway. I don't know how no one picked up on that.
IMDb, blind spots.
Yeah, producer Sean, please get in Viola Davis' DMs and confirm that.
Yes, let's get
Has Sean ever not been in Viola Davis' DMs?
Oh, no.
He's love struck. I get it. She's gorgeous. Any other questions, Boggs, or should we bounce over to Discord questions?
No, I believe we've got a ton of Discord questions with some patrons coming.
That's right. Well, Saul, what do you have for us in that Discord category?
Well, this week I'm the unprofessional one because my headphones went out, so I had to switch to new headphones. But
don't worry about it. My camera's going to break in an hour, guaranteed.
Perfect.
During our match, there's a good solid 20 minutes that is cut out because Griffin's laptop stopped working, and he had to go up to his hotel room, get an iPad. Then the iPad wasn't working, so switch back to the laptop. There's a whole 20 minutes you guys didn't see.
Yeah, because he was switching his headphones as well, right?
Yeah, Paul, then Lon and Mart and Ellis and everyone else is just waiting there for 20 minutes.
So I want to see the behind the scenes of this, make that available for the patrons so we can watch all the, I'm sure with that and with Saul, when he kept switching rooms for better internet, I'm sure.
I have a feeling there was a blooper reel last year. I'm feeling they have a lot of content for a blooper reel this year.
Oh, I hope so.
But the first question for you, King Khan, is from Jeremy Miller. If you could star in a movie with Griffey, what type of movie would it be?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess a buddy cop movie would be fun. He's much more of the joking type, where I could try and play the straight man to him, but I would probably break really easily because everything he says is funny. But a buddy cop movie.
So which one is right? We gotta establish that.
Arthur and the King, you could call it that.
Love it. And then we have from Justin T. How did you guys come up with the name King Arthur?
Well, I think it's been said in other places, but yeah, obviously King Khan, the king, comes from my name, and Griffin played a character on the Tick called Arthur. So we usually throw out Excalibur, since that's King Arthur's sword, but we thought it was a little too in depth for people to get, so we just stuck with the basic King Arthur. But yeah, as soon as we heard that, we're like, yeah, we have to use that name.
I'm glad that they approved it because I very much enjoy that name. Yeah. And going to Drunken Prayer now. Outside of movies, what is something else you know a lot about?
Outside of movies, let's see. I know a lot about. I don't know. I know a lot about football, just because I play a lot of fantasy football and I pay attention to it. Other than that, it's mostly just movies. That's kind of a sad answer, but that's the truth.
Listen,
I'm guessing American football there.
American football, yes.
Depending on how much you know, I because I haven't asked any experts yet. How do you think the Eagles look this season? What do I think? We won a Super Bowl. We won it one time, I swear.
What every Eagles fan is hanging on to. That they
hey. The Dolphins were good in the 70s, so it's
it could happen.
It could happen. And then
Dolphins and Eagles.
For for our last question here from Gift Taylor. How would you describe the movie Trivia Schmoedown to a person who hasn't seen it yet?
That's what I've been trying to do a lot because a lot of family and friends are watching it and like, what is this? So the best way I describe it, this is movie trivia combined with wrestling. We are playing characters on screen, answering trivia questions, and then there's this whole. Then I have to go into the whole faction thing and points, but that's where it starts to get a little muddy. So I just stick to this is movie trivia plus wrestling. Enjoy.
Do family members ever ask like what you're doing with your character or why you're doing something?
They get it because I told them about the King Kong moniker before I started. So they get it and they love that I'm adding more and more to the ensemble as I continue.
They
by
approved.
the end, by the end, he's just gonna be in full like regalia.
I think that's what you need next, like a throbe or like something, big and bulky to match the crown.
Yeah, if and when we get to Spectacular, there might be, I don't know how much I'm gonna be wearing at that point.
And it looks like we also got a Streamlabs here from Drunken Prayer. Welcome back, Con, and not to be read until it comes on.
Okay. All right, we'll save that.
We'll read it again.
There we go.
We'll read it back.
Goodness gracious me.
Hey, I have to read the whole thing, Drunken Prayer, so I guess I'm going to reread it when Bibs comes on.
Well, hey, good news. Am I correct that might be the last Discord question?
Yes, it was.
Well, then, this is the part of the show where, again, folks, if you can, join the Patreon, patreon.com/JohnRocco. You're going to get a heck of a lot of good content there. But one of the things that we like to do is bring on patrons to ask some questions IRL if they should so choose. And now here to answer for the hell he just put dear poor Soul through, who didn't deserve that, is our dear friend, but oh boy, he's got to explain himself. It's Chris, a.k.a. Drunken Prayer.
Hey, look, John, just be glad it's not you this week.
All right. I'll take that.
Hey, Ken, welcome back, mate.
Thank you.
Again. Can't actually remember what I asked you last time you came on, to be honest now.
I don't remember either.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I guess I got a question this week. Seeing as you played from a hotel, you played from a hotel lobby.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the weirdest location you could pick to play a Schmoedown match from would be?
Whoa. As in one that's happened or one like a possible one?
Like in future, if you had to,
Okay.
like if you get stuck in a completely random location, you're like, oh crap, I've got to play a Schmoedown match. What's the weirdest place you could be stuck?
Let's see. Because I know the Rager before he joined the Schmoedown used to play from a bathtub. That's pretty good. Trying to think. I don't know. In space? When is someone going to play the Schmoedown from space? That's when. That's when you know
we've
made it to space. The Schmoedown should make it as well.
Yes. Someone become an astronaut, go up there and answer trivia questions.
Well, in fairness, you do technically have someone in the league that could arrange that. You've got Chandra.
We have Chandra, who's a rocket scientist. So.
Yeah, he could help you out there. Just get that SpaceX sponsorship.
Yeah,
Hey, Chandra, you've watched this show before. I know you're a friend of the show. We love you dearly, but I'm going to make a sincere command. Put Lon in space.
Put Lon
Harris in space. I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if you have no control over who gets in any spaceship. Put Lon Harris in space.
Yeah, maybe he'll run into Ludacris and Tyrese on the way.
Well, the answer they
one can only hope.
Yes.
See, I was thinking like gas station forecourt. You've just got truck drivers driving by going in the background. You're like, I'm trying to play trivia here.
Oh, that would be so annoying for the host. But yeah, that also works.
I think you might just annoy the hell out of Christian by that point. Be like, you know what, the match is not happening today.
Yeah, but
so somewhere quiet but still really weird would work perfect.
I could just imagine you in the lobby because, like, just playing, like, I don't think people would know. But obviously, you've got a whiteboard up. Say, like, Jude Law.
I have the crown. I had the cape. Yeah. Griffin's
crown.
wearing, like, a mask with an Arthur shirt. Yeah. I'm surprised we didn't get any weird looks, honestly.
Yeah, and, like, looking across, it's definitely a weird thing.
Didn't Mark Edward Hoyk play in a coffee shop at, like, the Horror Free-For-All?
Yeah. That's a good one, yeah.
What you've got to do is find a way to play inside of Saul's internet. Like, you've got to get yourself into the internet.
In the Matrix? Or?
In the Matrix, yes. That's my answer. In the Matrix.
Breaks the internet.
Yes, I'm going to play in the Matrix.
Just when you mentioned the whiteboards, I'm thinking airport arrival lounge, just because that would really confuse people when you keep raising your whiteboard and holding it up.
Yeah.
But is that the same thing as an airplane? We haven't.
Okay, all right.
You just keep writing down celebrities' names like Jack Nicholson. No, he's not here today.
No, he's not here.
Well, goodness, Drunken Prayer, thank you so much for the question. We'll be seeing and hearing from you later when William Bibbiani is on and we read your stream super chat again.
Thanks, Can. Love to see you again, bud.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness gracious. Like I said, gang, this is a chaotic episode, but it's a fun one. We're having a blast, and that is largely due in part to our wonderful, phenomenal, hilarious guest, King Khan. We have to thank you. I think this is your third appearance now.
Third time, yep. Mm-hmm.
That's right. We got to just thank you so much for being willing to spend some time here on the show. You are, of course, a king. You've got a lot of duties to deal with. Gucci's got a whole other dossier he's got to make up now. Yeah. He's got to learn about Star Wars more. I guess he can ask Gold Leader, like, hey, who are the best Star Wars aliens at trivia? But as we wind down talking about this match, I wanted to ask you a question. You've got a big match potentially coming up against either Deception or Chaos Theory. You're someone that I think there's no doubt we're going to be seeing next year in the Schmoedown. And you're part of a faction that is still very much in the running when it comes to this faction standing war. So I got to ask you, is there anything you want to let the Schmoedown know right now that you feel like they got to know before you rise to your proper place?
Sure. So what you saw from me and Griffin, that is probably our worst game. We are in a hotel lobby, which doesn't help with the anxiety. We spun opponent's choice. We get the worst category that we wanted. We give up 3 points in steals, and we still win against one of the best teams in the Schmoedown. So every other team out there in the tournament, you should be scared, because if that's how we play at our worst, imagine us at our best.
Oh, goodness gracious. At your worst, you retire a team. At your best, oh no. They souls leave their bodies. They have to live in the haunted mansion now. I don't know. That's the first ghost thing I could think of.
For a second, when you said Soul, I was like, what is he about to say about me?
On our best day, Soul, you better watch out.
He send you to space.
Oh, Fast 10. Well, goodness, King Khan, thank you so much. Is there anything also you would like to plug for the people at home can see more of you?
Yes. Well, Sean very graciously put my Twitter handle there, so you can follow me there. Go buy your tickets to watch Griffey Nooms versus Josh Horowitz in New York, if you can make it out there. It should be a fun one. And yeah, you'll see either us playing Deception or Chaos Theory at the end of October. So
there we go. That's going to be an exciting... Oh, no, I burped. Potential Halloween match, end of October. Yeah. Who knows? King Khan, thank you so much for spending more of your Saturday with us. We hope the rest of your Saturday is delightful, and we will see you next time.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, man.
You too, dude. Oh, what an excellent gentleman. I hope he's out now because I've got to burp again, and I don't want to make him do that twice. Oh, no. Oh, it froze. Oh, no. You ever have the thing where it just freezes in your throat? Foul, disgusting, sure. Absolutely awful. Well, we've got now a Star Wars match. Like I said, we've got one of 4 divisions to talk about, one match from each. And of course, to talk about this Star Wars match, we've got to toss it on over to Boggs. Let's talk about this Laura Kelly versus Eric. What did you want to say?
No,
it's I think he just wants to hear me say swag, swag, drip, drip again.
I mean, sure. But people, you're referring me to the Star Wars guy, but Saul's just in love with Star Wars as I am. So,
you know what? That's fair. Honestly, what we really need to differentiate is the fact that I'm the not StarArs guy. That's probably the most fair. In fact, Saul, how about you cover this?
I think Boggs got it. I believe in Boggs.
Let's do it. So our next guest shall be joining us shortly, guys. So just give us about 15-20 minutes or so, and we shall see the Beast hop on over and talk about the match. But first, let's talk about this Star Wars first round match. Obviously Laura Kelly representing S.W.A.G and Eric Whiteley via the Quirky Mercs. Round 1 begins. I thought Laura was going to go perfect. She did miss one 8th question, the Ken Lung one, his first name. Whiteley also just missed one. He missed 2, excuse me. So round finishing 9-8. Round 2, obviously Laura goes first. She spins on the Phantom Menace. She goes perfect. She goes multiple choice on the last question. Whiteley goes second, sticks on New Hope. Doesn't go perfect, misses his third question, but luckily for him, Laura didn't steal it. And he did go multiple choice once as well after that, and then he did get his 2-pointer. The last one, so round finishing 18-15 to Laura Kelly at this point. No surprises for me. For me, it was a clear A player against a B player, clear contender for the title against just like a top 10 contender. So, nothing wrong with that. I like Eric. I do see his Brian Wave stuff, especially the Star Wars content that he does. I was kind of, wished him well, but we've clearly got a contender here, and I'm absolutely no surprise she's up. But he gave a good representation of himself. But John, any overall thoughts on the match so far? And obviously Dora leading 18-15.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's tough. Obviously, at this point, it's hard to not associate the Star Wars tournament with Ace Cabrera and the incredible performance he put on last year. But Laura Kelly, like you said, man, she's been one of the A players in this game for a minute. The Joker intro had me a little bit worried because I was like, oh no, when I think of the Joker, I don't particularly think specifically good at Star Wars trivia, especially since Disney bought it, and obviously DC, that's a whole other Warner Brothers, so there's a lot of just corporate hoo-ha going on. But Laura Kelly, we came to expect greatness from her. And I also do think that this was probably Eric's best showing. Like, he managed to hit all of his 2, 3, and 5-point questions. I think he is somebody that's getting better and better. I'd certainly be interested in seeing if and where he winds up next season. But right now, when you face one of the greats, it's hard to do anything other than just kind of keep your head above water. And that's just kind of what this was. I mean, no disrespect to Eric Whiteley. Dude knows his Star Wars. But Laura Kelly knows her Star Wars. Soul, what about you? What were your thoughts on this match?
Now, I know that we all enjoy when the Star Wars competitors are going perfect. That 50-51 with Damon and Dimolanta, that was an exciting match because you're like, who's the first that's going to miss? But I also very much enjoy Star Wars matches where you don't have people playing perfect. Laura missing one question, Whitley missing 2 in round 1, the missing question in round 2 and not getting the steal. It shows more that they're human, and so when they win, it's kind of like a triumphant thing instead of like, oh, these are robots playing Star Wars trivia, because they're not missing a single question. So I very much just enjoy seeing how they get back after they miss. And then also Laura Kelly, she's a badass. She had some dental work done, and she's still playing as well as she is. So shouts out to Laura Kelly.
The swag is strong with this one, as Winston says. But I do have a thought about, like an A player against a B player in Star Wars, because there is, like I said, there is a bit of a gap there for me. There is a contender for the titles. There's the 5 people who are kind of playing each other, and whoever comes out on top, obviously, is the champ, and kind of the rest. Some of them are 1-4, like a Scrimshaw, or 0-3 now. I would really it doesn't seem for me when they go. I know it wasn't at the start of the season we had random Star Wars matches, but moving forward, we've had 2 Star Wars tournaments where because of seeding, someone with a winning record is going to play someone with a losing record, so it's going to be hard for them people to get a win. So I would like to see the people like Whiteley play against Scrimshaw, Whiteley play against Sean Sullivan, people, so they can get wins, so they can get their confidence up, so they can get some form, because otherwise they just end up always going to play the other end of the spectrum, and it is a bit, I can imagine, being frustrating for them. So I just hope that we have other matches outside of a tournament so they can get more evenly matched up and kind of even out their records a little bit. So because I can imagine that's majorly frustrating. You're always playing against a killer, and you just end Adam Witt, for example. Adam Witt should play Whiteley, sorry, or she'll play Sean Sullivan again, or Molly, or whoever. I'd like to see that a bit more even matchup happening outside of tournaments, because it's always tough for them in tournaments.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why Christian is trying to rework the faction setup a little bit, because obviously
you're stuck in tournaments, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
well, and I think the Star Wars tournament, or the Star Wars division rather, is kind of in the same place that the Inner Geekdom division was in 1-2 years ago, where it's there is just a very clear delineation of there's this handful of people that are the super greats, and then there's everybody else that's kind of okay. I think it kind of took Inner Geekdom a minute to kind of have a little bit more of an evening out period, where it's you have more people across the board who are very good. Skate Weather, thank you for joining us. Boggs always has great points. Look at him. That man's never had a bad thought in his life. So yeah, I think
would.
especially now that like we're seeing more of an emphasis put on the Star Wars division with 2 tournaments this year, I think that is something that's going to kind of help Star Wars players hopefully rise to the occasion. And then also hopefully we're going to see maybe some more competitors come in as a way of like trying to even things out, especially since Christian did mention that Star Wars is a division that is still likely to have some digital matches next year when they go back to more regular in-person matches. Especially since I really don't think there were that many Star Wars matches that were in person back in the studio days, at least relative to what we were getting from the Inner Geekdom and singles and teams divisions. So that'll be a really interesting balance. And then Skate Weather here also commenting if Witt's a manager next season, he probably can't compete in Star Wars at Jeremy Miller, but your point is well taken. Your point is well taken, Skate Weather, because obviously one thing that we've been seeing is there's, as much as Kaiser might not like to say it, I wonder how JC, owner of the Cantina, would do in the league. I mean, he's got to know at least what they're drinking in every scene.
Yep.
He's got to just be able to look at him. He's just like, space water, blue milk. There we go. Give me another. Give me another. But yeah, it does seem like potentially with what we've been seeing from the scene work out of the few scenes that we're able to get right now, just because of, again, logistics. I get it. I just try to kill a fruit fly. I did it. Nice. It's a tough thing. So yeah, it's possible that we're going to see Witt out of the Star Wars division next year because he'll be focusing on managing, which is definitely going to be, a bummer because he's always so fun to see in these Star Wars matches. But also, as a manager, we're still going to see him in matches. We're still going to hear from him. And also,
we'll see more of him if he's a manager.
And I guess his record is like, isn't it like 0-4?
He hasn't won a match.
Yeah. So maybe.
But I believe, to be fair, thinking about it, I believe he has the ultimate Schmoedown Aftershow record outside of Roka of having the most patrons come in to ask him questions, I believe. So it's just a fun thing. Yeah. So it's not all doom and gloom, Adam Witt. So on this show,
certainly not.
Yeah, on this show, you're a winner.
The fucking Steve Martin of the Schmoedown? Are you kidding me?
I think he had 6. I think that's the record. I think he had 6 patrons coming, or it might be 5, but it was a high amount either way.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, we've got nothing but love for Adam Witt over here on the Ultimate Schmoedown After Show. Oh no, that's burp number 4.
You're burpy today.
Good job the king was in here. Gosh, damn.
I know, good. That's why I said I had to wait. One of the things, speaking of Adam Witt and the faction, is looking at the dungeon. Right now, if my math is correct, the dungeon is currently sitting at number 1 in the faction standings for reasons that we'll talk about later. But it's very interesting to note before we, of course, because we're not doing predictions yet, but I was looking at what is next up this week as far as matches go. There are 5 matches, 4 of which have corruption players, 1 of which is a guaranteed, 6 points for corruption, regardless of who wins. So I wanted to pose this before our second guest joins us today. Considering the big lead that corruption could get off of this week, do you feel like this is something that could be a defining moment in corruption's year? Could this be a moment where they make that faction ranking a little bit less contentious because they're just like, no, it's ours now? Saul, I'll start with you. What do you think about that?
Well, to start off, I want to address Brian in the chat saying that JC is the current FCL Star Wars champ. So there you go, Wingblade. There's our FCL comment for today. I think Boggs and I talked about it the last time when you had to run away real quick. That I think both of us agree. Corruption might have this again this year. They have the most potential for the most points. And knowing how Shannon runs that faction and how much they've been studying together and moving towards, and that they have a guaranteed 7 points with the next singles match, they could get us 2 years in a row of faction champs.
There we go. Very interesting point. Well, Boggs, I would toss it on over to you again. Do you still agree with that mindset that perhaps corruption kind of maybe has this lockdown for the second year, but also, if you had to look at these factions that we've got right now, because we've got plenty of top-tier factions right now in this ranking with the Suspects, the Exchange, the Quirky Mercs, and, of course, the Dungeon, which, as I mentioned, number 1 right now. Which faction do you think has the best chance of being able to beat corruption, specifically, if we're talking about them being, perhaps locked in for this faction title?
So yeah, to the first thing, yeah, I think it's pretty much in Corruption's hands for me. Being in all the tournaments still, this whole Corruption title match that's happening next week, of course, New York event. But who's got the best chance of catching up there? I mean, they kind of all have really. So the Dungeon, obviously, they've just got kind of big players all over, and I really think that they're going to do something with Inner Geekdom left, because technically there's no, apart from Amaru and Mike's title match, which obviously they've played but it hasn't aired yet. Their next mandatory is obviously Parker, which we'll talk about later, spoiler, which we'll talk about later, but there's no IG matches left. So I do think they're going to have some kind of elimination thing with certain people in maybe for next year or whatever the situation. So they might put like Mara in and Saul in again, and I don't know, Brandon or whatever, but I think they will do something, maybe chance something like that. So maybe some of them guys can pick up points for them. Obviously, usual suspects are like all their big players are kind of coming through now, whether it's the teams or Untouchables are doing great things potentially, and obviously Amaru, if he's won that, then it could be it could have a big swing for them. But I kind of feel for the Finstock boys. They've got the whole team, even I should say, most wins, less losses, the least losses, and they're kind of just hanging around fourth. But they've done their bit. In terms of the new players, where the whole roster is getting points for them. So I've always got shout out them. But yeah, Quirky Mercs as well. Obviously, look, they've got the team champs. Both of them in the singles tournament still. Obviously, Di Molanto's done his bit this season. He's done enough for them. So yeah, again, they've got big players. So we'll see. It will be interesting going deep into tournaments. They'll all be playing each other for me. So we'll see. I do think it's Corruptions, but plenty of teams can catch up.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm looking also here at my little list of who's left in the singles tournament. And right now, there are only 2 factions that have 3 members left in the singles tournament, that being the Quirky Mercs and Corruption. The Quirky Mercs, obviously, they just lost their Star Wars competitor for the tournament going on right now. So that's a little bit tougher on their end. But, they have William Bibbiani, Brendan Meyer, and Josh Horowitz, all 3 of whom have been making huge impacts this season. But then also looking at some factions that have 2 players left, because that's not too far behind, especially now that we're in round 2. We do have the Finstock Exchange, the Dungeon, and S.W.A.G. all hypothetically have some people who could still run through and potentially have a shot. Less so with S.W.A.G, probably.
Hey, S.W.A.G's goal now for the rest of the year is to ruin it for other people, for other factions. I think Winston said that in one final post-match interview a few weeks ago, that he's like, now our sole mission is to ruin it for everyone else. We're going for the championship titles for the factions. So I'm ready to see what S.W.A.G might ruin for some people.
I mean, listen, you've got to have reasonable goals, and I think that's fair. And it's interesting, again, yeah, also looking at the singles tournament, just because that's the biggest tournament happening right now as far as people involved. Right now, S.W.A.G's 2 matches are against Dan Murrell of the Dungeon and the Barbarian of the Finstock Exchange. And those are, again, 2 of those factions that I mentioned being kind of in the top contention. I mean, do we feel like, considering that those are 2 fearsome competitors, do we feel like S.W.A.G has what it takes with their 2 A players, ostensibly? Do we think they could ruin it for either of those factions? Because losing a player at this point, that's pretty huge. Sorry, Saul.
It would be great to see.
Yeah, Lon, I mean, I'd like to say yes, but it's down Moral, so you kind of have to go with Moral on that one. But a Yama against Barbarian, I kind of favor Yama that much, to be honest. So yeah, he's definitely kind of upset there. Them guys, even if he loses, he does have his free-for-all thing that he's going to use. He's looking more and more likely he may be using it next year, because I believe he has up till the free-for-all to use it. So yeah, he kind of gets 2 swings at it. So interesting, but yeah, I don't think they can. But yeah, I got a feel for the Den as well. Den almost have, I think they're out of every tournament, so kind of down to Harper to save their season.
Well, they are still in the teams tournament, because they're going to be playing the press room,
boys, yeah.
Which, again, one of those top factions right now. They're going to be playing Horowitz and Nemiroff, and that, of course, being the team of Duralde and Mark Riley, which is going to be very fun to see. But hey, speaking of the Mercs, speaking of the Quirky Mercs, one of the top, the number 3 faction currently, if my math is correct, we've got to talk about one of the all-time greats. We've got to talk about one of the best to ever do it. Please don't tell John Roca I said that. If he hears me say anyone other than him at number one, oh, it's my head. It's my head and my ass. I'm in trouble. But we've got to talk about the current reigning and defending half of the Shazam team. We've got to talk about the former multiple-time belted singles champion. We've got to talk about one of the best there's ever been and one of the nicest smelling men there could ever possibly be because of those delightful Salt Cat soaps. Everyone, I better hear you from your respective homes. I better hear you from my home, from wherever you are, making a whole mess of noise, joining us for the first time on this show. Quite frankly, he's one of my favorite players that there's ever been. It's William the Beast Bibbiani.
Growl, growl, everybody. Growl, growl. Am I muted? I'm probably muted.
No, you're good.
You're
Okay,
beautiful.
for once I'm not muted. I do have the belt.
Oh,
There are times
shining,
when I
shining,
go on
wow.
shows and I don't have the belt, and everyone's like, "Where's the belt?" It's right here, but it's heavy, so it's going down now.
That's
Put
fair.
that
And that's
down there.
why people
we go.
tune into this show, is the possibility of seeing that team's belt.
But yes,
How
I
are
do. I do have many soaps. Thank you so
You
much.
got soaps,
And
you
I
got
own
belts.
some of them.
Oh, fantastic. You know, we actually just released over at Salt Cat Soap, our Etsy store, some new Halloween soaps today, including this fabulous Nevermore bar inspired by the Raven, and that is actually a soap-carved bird skull. Well, it's a mold, but it's a soap bird skull in there as well. We also have these fabulous Pretty Good Pumpkin soaps. You heard of the Great Pumpkin? It's a pretty good pumpkin. And these are mine. I actually made these. These are candy corn soaps that we have. We also have soap ghosts that glow in the dark, but we keep selling out. We just sold out of those like half an hour ago. So unfortunately, I don't have one to show off to right now.
I mean,
But,
I get it. I hear glow-in-the-dark soap. I absolutely want some.
We'll be making more, so keep an eye out at Saltcat Soap on social media. We'll be making more throughout the month, but yeah, we cannot keep them in stock. They keep selling out. So thank you everybody who bought them. But hi, I'm here to talk about the Schmoedown mostly.
Oh, no, absolutely. We're going to talk about the Schmoedown, but now I
Okay.
got to ask first and foremost, what do you think are the top 3 things to smell like for Halloween?
That is a great question. I would say, let's see, what have I got in here? This has a sort of a pumpkin. Oh wow, I need new glasses. What do we have in this one? This has. Okay, I just flat out need new glasses. I recommend pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice smells amazing. I recommend buttercream, which is kind of like candy corn. Not everyone likes to smell the candy corn, but buttercream is very, very close, and that's why I scented these with buttercream. And then I would also recommend something nice and chocolatey because it's Halloween and everyone likes chocolate, don't they?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. I'm glad that we could sort out that you might need new glasses before your next team's match.
That's
Certainly.
right.
This is
All
a
right,
good
I
fact
wasn't-
finding.
You know, you spend most of your day like you're a film critic, you're watching screens all the time. It might just be good old fashioned dice strains. So I need to take a step back and read a book or something for a while instead.
Fair enough. I mean, hey, you're a busy man. You keep being in this Schmoedown. We're so thankful to continue to have you, and you keep winning, and that's a big part of it. You keep winning teams matches. You keep winning singles matches. At any point, do you ever get tired of just like winning? Do you ever just go like,
because my career has always been really up and down. I've gone on some deep runs. There was that one year where we won the team's tournament and I made it to the final 2 in the singles tournament. But the rest of my career has usually been I win like 3 matches and then I lose one really, really bad. So that keeps me humble and that keeps me appreciating every victory. Every time I win, it's really, really exciting. It's really, really fun. And but you know, there's a saying they had in ancient Rome whenever a general would return victorious from battle, and they would give them this gigantic parade through the streets, and they would be on their chariot and waving, and there would always be one person whose job was to stand next to them and whisper in their ear while they were being praised by the entire country, "Remember thou art mortal. Remember thou art mortal." And that's important advice, I think, for anybody who achieves any sort of success in everything. Don't let it get to your head. You know, there's always something that can happen. So, but that's good for me because it means I take every single competitor seriously. I don't really get cocky anymore. And I think that helps me win because I'm always prepared for the absolute toughest opponent that could come my way, whoever it may end up being.
Absolutely. And that's definitely a much better ancient Roman quote than the one that I know, which is, hey, what's that volcano doing?
Yeah,
what's that volcano doing?
Yeah.
I don't know why they thought to memorialize that, but hey, c'est la vie. That's another famous Roman phrase. Well, we are, of course, here specifically to talk about your current run in this singles tournament against the delightful Ty, the Tyrant Lieberman. I guess delightful depending on who you ask. He's been a delightful guest, but somebody that seems to have rubbed people the wrong way when it comes to the Schmoedown fan base as a whole.
Sure, and I think that's something that he has embraced, and he's really, really great at. And watching him, I'm actually really, really glad that my first like live match in singles back from the pandemic was against Ty, because Ty is a great show person. Whatever you say about whether or not he's evil or just playing it up for the crowd or even more evil than that, he's a great show person. He puts on a great, his whole red carpet gag was really, really funny. I wish people could see some of the he was keeping the crowd like fired up even during some of the stuff that got edited out, you know, when they were taking on the wheel, some of the practical stuff that we just cut for time. He's a delight, and I was really looking forward to playing him, and I was really nervous about playing him because I saw what mincemeat he made of Drew McQueenie, a competitor who has defeated me in singles. So I know that's no easy feat. So I took that really, really seriously. And I was, you ask anyone in my faction, I was really deeply concerned about Ty. I was worried that Ty was going to be like this, this lion tamer up there, just like getting rid of all the beasts, you know, in front of his way. But turns out, no, I was able to beat him.
That's right. And you were, and in order to break down how you were able to do that, I will toss it over to my wonderful co-host, Saul. Take it away.
I want to first talk, Joe, about my favorite part of the match, and that was right before you guys even played, when Ken said, "Do you understand the rules?" And you go, "I wrote them."
I mean, it was an odd question to ask in that context. I'm glad people were amused by that. I was worried I came off a little cocky, but I mean, I did. So yeah, I got the gist. It's always fun to me. Thank you for appreciating it. I'm glad you're entertained. That's what counts.
I laughed out loud at that moment. I was just like, okay, great start to this match. Going into this round one, what we usually don't see from you coming out of round one is being down. Both of you missing the movie release date question, and then you missing Dogma, directed by a teammate of yours. So
I'm embarrassed by Dogma. I am embarrassed that I missed Dogma. I knew that Dogma came out in 1999. That is a pure old-fashioned, not to use a technical term here, but brain fart. That's just, I was going in order, and somehow I'd already used a repeat, and I didn't want to use 2 in round 1. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure it's, I'll tell you, I didn't show what I wrote, but I wrote down Chasing Amy. For me, that was like next in line. And then I was like, oh, and I think I even remembered it like just before Ty revealed the answer, and I was like, this is totally wrong. So that was embarrassing. The other one, at the very least, the other question was a question that Ty got wrong as well, so that wasn't super embarrassing. But yeah, actually, the last 2 matches, I was either tied or down at the end of round 1. And I was able to fight my way back from it, which just goes to show that the match is never over. You know, the match isn't over until they call it, and even then, a couple of times it hasn't been over. So, you know, you always stay in there, and the best advice I can give people for when like a match isn't going their way or they get a question wrong, especially something that they feel like they should have known, is just what's behind you doesn't matter. You can't focus on it. You can't think about it. You have to look at what are the points on the table right now and just focus on those. And if you want to ruminate or dwell or beat yourself up in something you got wrong, do it after the match. That's a great time to do it. You have plenty of time to do it and then build yourself back up again. But during the match, you got to focus because it's never too late.
Absolutely.
Great advice.
And I definitely agree that it's smart to not use the 2 repeats as well. Just thinking about this, since you had already both missed 1 point, it's like, oh, the threat of him getting a perfect round and then getting a bonus, like that's out of the way. So it is sort of like, like the most you could be down hypothetically is 1, unless you run into like another question where you don't know. Like that makes complete sense.
Yeah, round 1 is usually pretty solid for me. They've been making round 1 a little bit more difficult across the board, so I'm not shocked that I've had fewer like perfect rounds this season. That doesn't embarrass me. I'm actually glad. I think the game should be a little difficult. I think we want to be crowned the Schmoedown champions of the world. We better be getting some hard questions now and then. So that was fine. But yeah, I used my repeat earlier for something where I remembered the answer in time. I just needed more time to write it down. It would have been foolish to leave points on the board like that. But yeah, if Ty isn't going to get a perfect round either, if he can't be that extra point up on me, then it's not really worth it if I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get it anyway.
Plus your first repeat use was phenomenal because I remember you specifically going like, okay, yeah, I've got it. I don't need the whole time in there. Just like, well, here we are anyway.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It was for me. I'm the one who asked for it. I feel like I should be able to. We can pick this up. I don't need to. It's Los Angeles. Traffic stinks. Let's get out of here before 5 o'clock.
Oh, 5 o'clock is it when it's worst. Ugh.
Yeah.
But going into this round 2, this is really where the match went your way because you killed it in Oscars. Went perfect there. Sounded a little sad when Parasite, like they didn't get any nominations for actors.
It is sad. It is sad that Parasite did. Parasite's a brilliantly acted movie and it got no nominations for any acting, and that's always rare. I always keep track of that because it's very, very rare for a movie to win Best Picture without any acting nominations. And there's actually a reason for that. The acting voting body at the Academy Awards is larger than any other. So if your movie has the support of the actors, and usually that support can be visibly seen in nominations and or wins, then it doesn't necessarily mean your movie has enough support to win Best Picture. So it's pretty unusual when that happens, and it was relatively unusual when Parasite did it. So I made note of that early on, and as soon as they started saying the question, I was like, oh, it's Parasite. And then it was. So that one worked out pretty good. Yeah.
And then you had Lieberman. He spins horror. He goes, oh, I think I landed on spin again. And spins it again, still gets horror. You were able to steal the Wes Craven multiple choice. Weren't able to steal the Halloween one.
That was a tricky Halloween one. That was a tricky, because that's the one where the question was which Halloween movie had Brad Dourif and Malcolm McDowell, and there are 2 that had that. That's Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2, and Margot Kidder. And the problem is Rob Zombie's Halloween movies are a character actor buffet. How Octavia Spencer is in Halloween 2 for one scene. Like there's a ton of people in these movies. So trying to remember, and I realized I didn't have a lot writing on it because by that point I was pretty well ahead, so I wasn't super concerned. But at that point, it was just basically a coin flip because I couldn't quite remember the context in which Margot Kidder showed up. It was either Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 or 2. I picked the wrong one. It ended up going my way. Not the end of the world, but it does bum me out because, I actually really like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
It was a 50-50 shot there, but throwing over to Boggs, your thoughts on this round 2 and any questions for William?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I just want to say thanks for coming on because, your first time on the show, just doing this show for like a year and a half now. And having the prospect or thought of having you on the whole time, so yeah, it's definitely.
Should have asked earlier. I would have been here.
Yeah, Sean, being in, obviously, a bit nervous too maybe, but you being some of the key moments, for us guys all around the world. Absolute pleasure to have you on. And, this was reflected in your match in terms of the promo. I just thought it was great. You and Ty going back and forth. And I've got to give you a shout out for the Calling Me Bad reference. They do one of my favorite songs of all time. So I was like, yeah, I went through a few songs afterwards after seeing it, after getting the reference in the promo. So thanks for that. But yeah, it was like, oh, finally, like someone's even in a digital match, doing this whole promo, with Ty going, back and forth. I just thought it was really funny. And it was like good to have you back in singles like that. So yeah, definitely just a good all-round thing to have you back, and then going with the team's belt. And yeah, pleasure to see you play, and thanks for coming on. That was it, really.
Thank you. And listen, although it is the first time I've been on the show, I do watch. I can't watch them all the time, but I do watch at least a little bit of all the after shows, like all of them. I've seen at least a few complete episodes of every single one, and I try to keep up to date. And you have a great after show, so thank you so much for inviting me on. It's real pleasure.
Far too kind.
You
Thank you. So
and Brennan
we're truly just happy to have you.
That's the plan.
No. I'm not kind enough. But anyway, yeah. So what else can I do you for? I'm here.
I think around 3 probably as well.
Yeah, round 3.
Okay.
So we get Lieberman. He gets his 2-pointer, and he gets his 3-pointer. Goes over to you. You get Black Cinema. When you heard Black Cinema before it went to Ray, because I know that is for a lot of competitors in the Schmoedown, they hear Black Cinema and they're like, "Oh man, I'm gonna get this one wrong."
That's not my problem. I actually do really well at that category most of the time, and any category. Even look, I got a horror question wrong this time, so you never know. But I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure every single Black Cinema question I've had since they implemented the category this year, I've gotten correct. I got that Shaft question correct in one of the teams matches. I usually get them correct in round 1. I think it might have come up again in a round 3, although I can't recall specifically what it was. But no, it's not something I would consider a weakness by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I actually consider it something of a strength. I do follow a lot of the films that they've asked about very closely, so that wasn't my concern.
Quick question:
Especially
did you know?
It could have been anything.
Did you know Ayama's 5-pointer? Final exams 5-pointer. The Denzel.
Was that of Queen and Country? I think
yes.
To be perfectly honest, I think I might have gotten that one wrong, or at the very least, I think I might have gotten the title wrong. I might have said Queen and Country instead of Queen and Country. Like, there's a decent chance I would have gotten that wrong, but it's so easy to say that, or easy to speculate about that at home when you're on the stage. You've probably been studying different things based on the team you're playing. So certain things might have been fresher in my memory. I'm playing with a teammate that was a 5-pointer. So it really wouldn't necessarily just matter if it was only me. If Brendan knew it, we'd have been on easy streets. So it's hard to say exactly, but no, I consider that a relatively obscure Denzel Washington movie. That was a pretty tough 5.
And going to another 5-pointer here, Lieberman, horror strikes again for him. And it's the 2018 Halloween. So
yeah.
I feel like I already know the answer to this, but I have to ask: did you know his 5?
Yeah, I knew the 5-pointer. I was actually on a set visit for the Halloween 2018, and I got to meet a lot of the people that even mentioned in that, including Andy Matichak, who I think is a great actor. So that one I knew. What I was actually ready for more than anything else was I was ready to jump in with a challenge in case he only said Halloween. Because there are 3 films. There are 3 films called Halloween, and there is precedent for, if you're not super specific when that's the case, they do take it away from you. So if he had only said Halloween, I would have jumped. I was just ready. I was right there. But it wasn't necessary. So it all worked out.
And we get another, and your winner is William Bibbiani. We're used to hearing that this year, either that or, and your winner is Shazam.
I think Shazam more than anything else lately. Yeah, we've got something good going with Shazam.
Your guys' team, and with Koi. And I loved Koi the whole time, just with the air behind you.
Oh my God, it's so stuffy in there. And I want to thank the producers. I told them, listen, it's actually really stuffy in here. And to be perfectly frank, shortly before the match, I was getting a little lightheaded. And they found me one of those handheld fan deals. And I was like, I don't want to carry this the whole time. And Koi, like the fantastic manager that he is, he volunteered. It's not easy to hold your arms up like this. Even carrying nothing. To hold your arms up like this for 40 minutes or so, that's not easy. That's a sacrifice he made for me. So I'm really, really grateful to have Koi as a manager. I'm grateful to the producers for helping me out, because I might not have been as mentally there as I could have been if I was overheating, which I tend to run hot. So that's a bit of a danger. But yeah, it worked out okay.
Yeah.
And we're used to seeing Koi being such great support just with his words but to actually see him supporting you with his hand up, I was like, okay, that is a manager of the year moment right there.
I honestly think Koi, there are a lot of, frankly, I think they're all great managers. They're great at the coaching their competitors. Some are better than even others at being super entertaining. But Koi, I think, is the full package. He's very, very fun. Everyone loves working with him, and I've seen, more so than I think any other manager, every player he's worked with has improved over the course of his managing them. Every single one, even if the year doesn't go their way. Look at Whiteley. Eric Whiteley played a great match against Laura like this last week or the week before. Really, really great match. It didn't go his way, and that's unfortunate because I think any other day that exact same match could have won him a game. But he's doing great. Someone pointed out recently on the Reddit page, they did the PPE, the points percentage earned, like the what percentage of the overall points you could have made did you make for the Inner Geekdom tournament. The number one was Parker. Parker is on that championship path. He's doing great. More power to him. You know who was number 2? Jesse Swift. He lost his match, but he was really good. He had a really good match, and overall, he played. You can't always guarantee you a win based on who you're playing against, but he played better than other players who are considered, to be like championship level players. He's really good, and he's only gotten better over the course of the year. Perry has gotten better over the course of working with Koi. I've seen Josh Horowitz go from a guy who is barely aware of the Schmoedown to being Rookie of the Year potential right now. Look, we've done that with Greg and John, with the Real Rejects. It's a good group. Everyone in it's really, really wonderful, and I'm so proud to have been part of it.
And John,
Absolutely.
any more questions for William?
Yeah, I mean, I remember Koi made a point specifically to talk about how there were no changes made to the roster during that midpoint in the season where folks were able to drop or pick up players.
Mm-hmm.
Where obviously I think kind of the biggest moment that came out of that potential pickup period was Del Rio getting picked up by the Dungeon. So it is kind of interesting, again, to just kind of look at the fact that y'all have kept the same faction and are easily up there right now with like some of the... Exactly, yeah.
We're number 3. And the thing is, technically, we're tied in points for number 2. It's just the difference is we've lost like one more match this season. Like, it's really, really close.
Yeah.
And you don't have to... Some people are playing Moneyball, and there's a bit of that here. Obviously, you want to look at people's stats and everything like that. But what Koi is really good at is looking at potential. It's not just about where you've been, it's what you're capable of. And that's one of the reasons why we were really gung-ho about getting Andrew DiMolanta first round. Because we knew that even though prior to this season he'd had a bit of a rocky record, we saw the gameplay. We knew that that's a champion. We knew that that's someone who, if we can just get their head in the game and help them be the best they can be and give them the right environment and a space where they can really flourish and feel supported, they could be epic. And look at him. I think he is easily one of the greatest Star Wars players of all time. For me, he's my number 1, but I can see there being an argument.
I mean, beating Alex Damon twice. Yeah, that absolutely.
Especially the first way he did. Come on. That was gigantic.
Absolutely agree. And it is also interesting because, again, like leading up to that with some of the promo packages that featured you, the big focus on those was, again, like putting into the fact that like Andrew DiMolanta, like, he also kind of had to let loose a little bit because obviously Finstock Exchange last year was very heavy on like all series, all belts, all times. And y'all kind of helped them let loose. And I feel like that's another thing that, yeah, like you were saying, like Koi knows how to like help you focus, but also have fun.
I don't want to take a lot of credit for that. I think when it comes right down to it, the players' victories belong to the players. But I do know from personal experience that if you're focused on playing a certain way, and you're not winning, sometimes it's that headspace that can be the wrong thing. And so here at the Mercs, we've always been just like, play the way you want to play. Like what is comfortable for you? We will work around you. And Koi isn't about making sure everybody is playing the way Koi needs them to play or the Koi Jandro, school of Schmoedown. He's really, really flexible, and he just wants to make sure everyone's out there. If you're having a good time, the audience will have a good time, and you'll be in a better headspace, and you can be primed. You can be ready to take advantage of every opportunity available, and I think the Mercs have. So again, I'm really, really proud to have been part of this faction, and I don't know what's going to happen next season. Anything could happen next season. There's a lot of changes going underway, and I'd love to stay with Koi, but for all I know, something could happen. A meteorite could fall on Koi. I have no idea, but for these last 2 seasons, this has been the absolute best time I've had playing the Schmoedown. Obviously, the pandemic was the crappiest part of the Schmoedown, but that's no one's fault. So working with Koi, working with Brendan so closely, and working with the rest of the Mercs, that has been the real joy of it.
Oh, you saying School of Schmoedown as well just made me start picturing like a School of Rock style movie where like somebody fakes their way into being a manager next year and then just totally kills it with like a team of kids. Oh,
I would love. I would love to do like a cartoon or a comic strip or something, which would be like Jim Henson's Schmoedown Babies. And you get like Whittle Roca like in his diaper and his hat, like that would be so. That would be great. Someone needs to.
John Roca's never worn a diaper. We have to say that legally. We have.
Not even when he was a baby. That sounds so messy.
No, he's always pooped in diaper. He's always pooped in toilets.
Messy. He was born in the hat.
That's right. He poops in toilets and he rides on horses. He's always done it.
But I do
imagine
think
doing it as a baby. It's that much cuter.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do think Coy's way to Schmoedown is that you guys have to have a cat on screen.
It helps.
Like every once in a while.
It really helps. Our cat Luca isn't allowed in the office because he likes to like get behind the computer and start pulling at wires. So he's not in here right now. But yes, having a cat in here whenever possible is always the best. And that's something that has actually been one of the upsides, of the pandemic way of doing the Schmoedown is we kind of get to see people's houses more, and we get to see like their setups and we get to like meet their pets, and that's been. That I think has made it a little easier. We've gotten to meet a lot. We've had Ellis's dog in a lot more videos than otherwise they would have been. So it's nice.
Oh yeah,
or Taco sleeping behind lawn.
Taco is a superstar. Taco, we need to have more of these pets on shirts. I think.
Yes,
I think that's the big reason why Winston hinted at Final Exam maybe not being together, because I think he's aiming for a Taco Paul Yama team.
That would be
next
great.
Year.
Mm-hmm.
Now that would be what a betrayal. Am I right?
A real Turner and Hooch situation, yeah.
Can you imagine a shirt that's just Taco, but like with Lon's like delinquent hat, and like Taco is like as big as the belt, and it's just Taco's head poking out over the belt, but he's wearing the delinquent hat. That'd be the cutest thing.
Oh, what if they make a little mini belt? Oh, what if they make a little tiny belt?
Our cat's name is, by the way, to speak to skate weather. Our cat's name is Luca, and he does live on the second floor actually.
Ooh.
Ooh, there you go.
There we go.
That was a coincidence, by the way. We didn't realize that until after we named him.
I like Drunken Prayer in the chat. Taco Cat is Taco Cat spelled backwards.
Lon is a very clever person. I'm willing to bet that's not a coincidence.
All right. Well, Saul, do we have any Discord questions from the wonderful people at patreon.com/John Roca?
Before we do that, let me just ask the Beast a couple of questions because
Sure.
First time meeting him and stuff. So, well, first of all, with this whole Di Malanta, how well he's played, and he's done enough this year, and obviously Harper's on his rise at the moment. So, who would you? And you might be biased, of course, but who would you kind of give your vote for in terms of Star Wars Player of the Year?
Star Wars Player. If it was decided now, it's got to be Di Malanta. Harper is great. That is not a slight on Harper, but what Harper did, as far as I'm concerned, is not as impressive as what Di Malanta did. I think what Di Malanta did was he played through the ranks for a long time. He earned his shot, and then he took the belt from someone who it's so easy to forget now. It's only been a couple of months. Damon was considered unbeatable. Damon was literally considered by many players to be unbeatable. The general consensus was he will be the champ forever unless something happens and he pulls a Whitwer and he has to leave and vacate the belt. Andrew Di Malanta not only beat him, he beat him twice. Then he went on to beat Laura, who is considered also one of the greatest Star Wars competitors of all time. All right? And yeah, he lost against Harper. Even Damon lost a match. I think that when all is said and done, there might be a recency bias towards Harper, and who knows? Maybe Harper has like what, 1 or 2 more matches he's got to play, or does he go straight to Spectacular? I'm a little hazy on.
I think he goes straight to Spectacular.
He's a winner of the tournament, I believe.
Harper only has one opportunity for a defense. Di Malanta had to defend that belt like 3 times within the first 6 months of getting it. Okay, he didn't the third time, but the first 2 times he did it. Even if Harper wins at Spectacular, he's only defended that belt once. So Di Malanta was playing at a championship level the entire season, winning championship matches throughout the entire season, played a great game against Harper. It was not a knockout. Okay, I think what it boils down to is Di Malanta. When you look at the big picture, it's got to be him. But who knows? Maybe Harper will find some way to win by like 8,000 points or something, and it'll be the most incredible Spectacular it's ever seen. But I kind of doubt it. I think he's going to have a tough match, no matter what happens, no matter who makes it out there. So
that would be a long night.
Yeah.
So yeah, a couple of quick ones because we do have a few obviously Discord questions to ask and patrons comments. So I'll be as quick as I can. Obviously, a couple of some of the staples in the league retiring this year. Some of your best rivals. Obviously, Roka and Draco, Snyder.
Not one of my best rivals.
yeah. I mean, he was after, but he's one of my favorites.
Roka, we're gonna miss them all. They are all titans of league.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So just on the back of that. You have spoke a few times about maybe like mental health stuff and pressures of the league against, work life, family life, and things like that. I just thought, is there anything, any kind of more advice you'd give on that? Because we've had how many rookies this year? A lot of FCL players want to come through, that kind of thing. A lot of the community. We spend a lot of time, dedication, doing these kind of shows. Anything kind of you want to expand on that? Any more advice you can give?
Do you want me to announce my retirement right now? Is that what you want me to
No,
if you can drop a tier, that'd help.
I'm not. No, I have no intention of retiring, and even if I did, I'd probably want to move to another part of the game, like manage or something like that. But no, I have no intention of doing that anytime soon. And I think what's important, I think this is true for anything, not just the Schmoedown, is you got to have balance, and you got to have balance in your life. You can't spend so much time on the Schmoedown that it hurts the rest of your life, and you can't focus on the Schmoedown over your relationships with your family, your loved ones, your friends. You can't focus on it so much that your actual day job suffers, because except for the people who are running it, we're not getting paid big money to do this so that we have nothing to do but the Schmoedown. That's not how it works. So we do have to focus on other things once in a while. And if the Schmoedown becomes, and this is just my advice to players, if the Schmoedown is a hindrance in your life just because it takes up too much time or mental energy, or it's too hard to handle, some of the fan interactions or whatever, you don't have to do it. I would love to see you here. I love everyone who's in the Schmoedown, and I want to see them here, and I want to see them having fun. But when Di Malanta said that he wanted to step down, my first thought was, oh, that's too bad. He's such a great player, but good. He needs to spend time with his family. He deserved it. He put so much into this game, and he'll be back. And that's excited about. I'm glad he's planning to be back. But he put in a lot of time. I was there for his studying in the first half of the year. He worked his butt off. He's entitled to take some time. So do what you got to do. Put yourself first if you have to. I love the Schmoedown. For me, this is my pastime. This is what I do to keep myself sane. This actually it helps my mental health to do the Schmoedown a lot of the time. So for me, I think I found a good equilibrium with it. But if anyone's struggling, I mean, certainly I'm sure Christian would love to talk to you and help everybody. He's very open about that kind of thing. But generally speaking, yeah, people leave when they feel they need to, when they're too busy, when life gets hard. There's plenty of valid reasons. So, I'm sure every single person who's left, we'd love to have them back, and we look forward to that day. But yeah, if Roka is too busy and has other things to do, more power to you, Roka. We'll miss you, and if you ever come back, I would love to be your first match back. Same thing with Mark and Draco. I miss him very, very much. I miss seeing him as much as I used to see him. He's a very dear friend, in addition to being one of my great arch nemesis. But he's really busy. He's got good things going on in his life, and he needs to focus. That happens. So anyway, it's about that. But at the end of the day, we all love the Schmoedown. We all want to make it work, and when it works beautifully.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get some. One last quick one before we get the patrons in and stuff. Obviously, Roka's calling out for his one last ride, one last match. Just just want to know your thoughts on that. Your name's been tossed around. As mentioned.
I think I'm very curious to see how that's going to turn out. There's a couple of people who I can imagine him playing, which would be great. I think it depends, though. A lot of people are like, "Oh, well, wouldn't it be great if he played Dan?" And I'm like, "Well, what if Dan's already playing 2 matches at Spectacular? He could make it all the way through the teams tournament and the singles tournament.
Yeah,
that might not make sense. That might be too much for Dan. He might not be able to make it work. So
it'll be like you last year.
But yeah, regardless, it's not easy. And on top of that, there was that fan expo, which was an all-day event, so it was a little tired.
Right, yeah.
And I just put in a lot of energy, and I think it was a little burned out by the end of the night. I'm not going to lie. It was a rough night for me, and I think if I were doing it again, I'd do that a little differently, or at least manage my time a little differently, but I digress. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. What I do know is however it turns out, I can't wait to see that match. If they ask me to be in that match, I would love to be in that match. I would kill to be in that match. I would love to be a send-off for Roka. But however it is, I'm sure it's going to be really exciting, really dramatic, and I hope it's the send-off that Roka deserves, because when all is said and done, Roka is one of the he's part of the foundation of the Schmoedown. I think a big part of what the Schmoedown is and why it works has a lot to do with what Roka helped make it. So he deserves that send-off as much or more than anybody.
Well said, sir. One more thing. So I was going to say and calling me bad, but no. Anyway, let's get some good questions.
Now I'm bummed.
Don't get copyrighted, obviously. So
Don't get struck. Yeah.
We do have a Streamlabs from earlier that I read the second half when the second half was supposed to be waited for when you came on. And the second half is just soap.
Hey, we got a lot of soaps over at Saltcat Soap. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Saltcat Soap, and our Etsy store. Look for Saltcat Soap, all one word. We got a lot of Halloween soaps and a bunch of other. We started to have a few winter soaps as well, though we haven't gone full Christmas yet.
Ooh.
All right,
so, which soaps did you get? Because you bought some, right?
Oh yeah, I got the rose and honey one.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like that one a lot.
And then I forget the name of this one, but it's like
it's a stone soap. It's a stone bar, and that's got a lot of Himalayan salt in there to give it sort of like a quartz look. It's really, really cute. I like that.
And my favorite smelling one, which they all smell awesome, but this one's my favorite smelling one, is
those are wonderful. That's our ocean floor bar, and they smell very, very tropical. They're very beachy, and they're really pretty. They look like, if you were like snorkeling and you were looking at the ocean floor. I love those.
I saw too that you have it without the salt, and you're like, we already have a Tesseract.
Yeah, someone put that on another show. Like, they have a Tesseract soap. I'm like, we do kind of have a Tesseract soap. So this one, we have them. I have to take my headphones off and grab it, but I can grab it if I had to. But yeah, those are real nice. All the ones that you have were designed by my partner M. Lapis da Silva. They are a genius with soap. I am a dabbler. I like what I do, but M. Lapis da Silva comes up with some brilliant things.
And they smell wonderful, so definitely go check it out and buy some soap. But going into our Patreon questions, we have from Gift Taylor. Excluding yourself, who do you think is the player of the year for the Schmoedown?
Did you say including or excluding?
They said excluding yourself.
Excluding myself. Who do I think is player of the year?
Mm-hmm.
If it were done now, like, again, because anything can happen. The tournament, we still don't know who's going to make it all the way through the tournament. There's a lot of people whose like, if Paige for Betty makes it all the way through the tournament and ends up killing it in the team's tournament with Drew, she could be the player of the year, for all we know. So anything can happen. It's still a lot of matches for the next 2 months. But with that being said, right now, it's hard not to pick Ethan Irwin. I think Ethan Irwin, he's got a title match coming up against Shazam. I think we're going to beat him. But he's got that match coming up, and anything can happen. I've learned that the hard way. He recaptured the singles belts. He's played successfully in Inner Geekdom. Not a lot of people can say that. I'm also looking to see how Mike Kalinowski is another big contender for that. I think if he had won the team's championship, he'd be a much more solid competitor for that. But he's still playing very, very well in 3 different leagues. I know the amount of energy that takes. That's really, really hard to do. So yeah, and I would say, and again, I'm hoping it's so tricky because right now we've still got 3 Quirky Mercs left in the singles tournament. And the sad thing is, like, because me and Josh are on one side of the bracket, like, it's impossible. We can't all make it. So I'm thinking, if Brendan makes that deep run, and I know he's good, I know he can do it, and if we're able to hang on to that team's belt, Brendan is a serious contender. And by the way, happy birthday, Brendan Meyer! It is your birthday today.
Happy birthday!
It's such an honor to be your partner. If you're watching, thank you.
And our next question here we have from Drunken Prayer, which I think we'll see him a little later when he comes on. He's asking, what's your favorite horror movie remake / reboot?
Ooh, it's hard not to say The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is a movie that understands what made the original film scary, but does it even better. But I think I'm going to have to go with David Cronenberg's The Fly. The original The Fly is a great monster movie. I like the original The Fly a lot. If you've never seen it, watch it. It still plays really, really well. But in David Cronenberg's hands, it just becomes this incredibly heartbreaking metaphor for watching someone you love die of a deteriorating disease. And it takes something that it used to just be, kind of scary and high concept and cool, and makes it truly beautiful and sad. And I don't think it gets much better than that.
Good choice. Good choice. And then we have Jeremy Miller here. Oh, we got some more horror movie questions for you.
Sure,
He's
go.
asking, what's your favorite horror movie of 2021 so far?
Ooh, I love the Fear Street trilogy. I love it to pieces. I think it's absolutely an instant modern classic, but probably right now my favorite is Psycho Goreman.
Oh, I heard about this one. Yeah.
Psycho Goreman is it's a horror comedy. It is absolutely hilarious. It is weird and mean-spirited. And if this movie had come out in like 1989, it would be one of the most celebrated like cult horror comedies, right up there with like Evil Dead 2 and Dead Alive. But it is about an evil Earth-conquering villain. It's like Thanos. Imagine if Thanos was on Earth, but because of some curse with a medallion, he has to do everything like a 9-year-old girl tells him to do, and that 9-year-old girl is like a budding sociopath. Like she's a monster, and it's really, really funny. It's really dark. It's really twisted. It's got a lot of wonderful creative makeup effects. They're all the monsters look like they come from like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Pretty good, but not photorealistic. It's a hoot. I love it to pieces. And the other one I do want to give a shout out to, which is also really wonderful, is Werewolves Within, which
I did see that.
It may be my pick for the new best movie based on a video game. So it's really
Where is the first one available?
Psycho Goreman. I think Psycho Goreman is currently available on Shudder, but you should be able to find it almost anywhere because it came out in January. So it should be on various streamers by now.
I'm known as a little bit of a wimp when it comes to horror, although I'm trying to expand. Do you think this would be a good one to step into first?
Psycho Goreman's a little gross. I'm not going to lie. I think if the ones I suggested, Fear Street's pretty good. A couple of the kills are rather gruesome, but mostly it's just good teen Scream type level of violence. But Werewolves Within might be a good one to pick. It's got a couple of gory bits, but mostly it's actually just really funny in that almost like the movie Clue kind of way. Yeah. Like lots of great characters, lots of funny dialogue. So I think if you're not up for a lot of gore, of the ones I recommended, I would go Werewolves Within, and then Fear Street, and then it's goofy, but it's still really quite gross. So then Psycho Goreman at the bottom. Yeah.
I have to ask, have you seen a horror comedy movie called Dude Bro Party Massacre 3?
I haven't seen that one. I was at a festival or something where that played and I missed it.
That is one of my favorite movies. I think it was on Shudder at one point. Hopefully it still is, but that's definitely one that I think also again kind of fits in kind of gory, but very comically played for laughs, utterly ridiculous gory. And that's another classic Halloween must watch from John.
I think I remember you have a shirt of that, right, John?
I do. I didn't wear it because my AC is on too much, but.
By the way, shout out to the Salem Horror Fest. I'm wearing a shirt for them right now.
Hey, nice.
Very cool. Yeah.
There you go.
And our next question here from Canada Rocks. He wants to know, have you seen the miniseries Midnight Mass yet? If so, what did you think? If not, would you consider reviewing limited series on your podcast?
I have not seen Midnight Mass yet. I'm a fan of Mike Flanagan, but stuff like Midnight Mass, which is a big time sink, it's hard for me to fit it into my schedule because I have to watch so many different movies and TV shows for my other podcasts and my writing for the Wrap and so forth, and of course studying for the Schmoedown. So if it's not something I can fit in for work, it's difficult for me to prioritize it. I am very, very, very much looking forward to the moment, maybe over the Christmas break, when I can finally just sit down and binge it all and watch it, because I think Mike Flanagan is one of the best horror filmmakers working today. I've interviewed him a few times. He's a really intelligent guy, and I think In particular, I think Dr. Sleep is a masterpiece. So I'm a fan. I just haven't got around to it yet.
Alan Smithy asked earlier, Haunting of Hill House by Flanagan, is it a remake?
Of course it is.
There you go, Smith.
I mean, they literally made it. They made it multiple times before, and then he did it again.
Yeah,
it's a different take, but then again, Jan de Bont's The Haunting was a different take from Robert Wise's The Haunting, so that's not an issue. Some people would argue that like if it's an adaptation, it's not a remake. I think that's splitting hairs. I think that's just trying to move a goalpost so that something you like doesn't have to be called a remake. Most of the movies that we consider the best remakes of all time are also adaptations. So that's whatever. I think it's fine.
Tomato. All right. And then we have Justin T here. Are there any films, horror, sci-fi, or in any genre, that you felt deserved a sequel but didn't get one?
Oh, sure. One that absolutely I would have killed to have seen the sequel for it was a 1990s horror film from director Stephen Sommers called Deep Rising. If you've never seen this movie, it's the movie he made just before The Mummy, and you can tell if you like watch them as a double feature that like this is the movie that got him The Mummy, because the tone is it's the same tone, that kind of quippy monster fighting tone. But it's a great movie. It stars Treat Williams and Famke Janssen. They're on an ocean liner that is being attacked by this completely gigantic tentacle monster, and like they'll open a door, the room's full of tentacles and everything. It's really, really cool. And it ends on a cliffhanger, which is totally awesome. And it is such a bummer we never got that movie. It is such a bummer we never got that movie. I would have killed to have seen it. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. There are others as well, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Isn't that the worst?
Yeah, it is. It's a real bummer. But, you know, these things happen, and it's important. I was thinking about this in regards to Venom, Let There Be Carnage, a movie I really, really liked a lot. But so many people online only want to talk about, you know, the post-credits scene, which I'm not going to detail or anything like that. But it bothers me sometimes that as soon as a movie comes out, the only thing we want to talk about is a commercial. You know, like something or a tease or something that could happen next time. Like at the end of the Avengers, all we want to talk about is like, oh, Thanos showed up with the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm like, yeah, you know what we just saw? The Avengers, a movie that for most of my life I thought was a logistical impossibility, and they did a really good job with it. Can we focus on the movie for a while? And that's something that bothers me about Venom, Let There Be Carnage. We got a cool Carnage movie, and it was like queer and romantic and interesting, and I loved it. Can we talk about that for a few minutes before we start worrying about what might happen next? Just,
But what about his team up with Morbius?
No one wants him to team up with Morbius.
I'll say this. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I want him to team up with Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious.
Well, who wouldn't?
Right? They're going to space.
You can put anyone in the Fast and Furious movies and it would make sense. Like, that's kind of the cool thing about that franchise. I'm actually a little disappointed that when they brought Jason Statham in, he wasn't just literally playing the transporter, because he might as well have been.
Yeah. What if they got him in there just playing Jason Statham? Actually,
I would have also accepted that. I would have believed that for absolutely 1,000,000%. It was just, boom, Jason Statham, you want to help us with this heist? He's like, I was born ready. You know, boom.
I've got a comedy show to send you later where we can make that, where that happens in it. But for the moment, Soul, are there any other Discord questions?
I was going to ask you, do we have any patrons to come on in?
Oh, well, wouldn't you know, we do in fact have 2 quick patrons in to ask questions as well, starting off with somebody who had a Discord question, but we're excited to see him here as well. It's Ryko, a.k.a. Canada Rocks.
Hi!
Hey, Bibs. Yeah, nice to see you too. You know, all the hoops I had to get through just to call in. I'll explain later. But you know, I'm a big fan of yours. Well, I'm a patron, and one of the things is you give me the fix for classic films that I need, right? And I'm just absolutely adoring your Oscar watch. And on your podcast, you said that that the 30s, you didn't know that before, but the 30s now is like you like it better than the 40s. Yeah. Now that you've started getting into the 40s, do you still feel that way?
Yes, I do. I don't think there's ever been a bad decade in cinema. I think you can always find great movies in any decade where you find it. But now that we do a podcast, for those who don't know, on our Patreon called Only the Best, where we talk about and review every single film ever nominated for Best Picture in order. And so we got out of the 1930s and we moved on to the 1940s. And for a big chunk of the 1930s and 40s, there were actually 10 nominees a year. So we're watching a lot of movies. Some of them are way more obscure now than you might think. And I was really excited by the 1930s because it was the dawn of sound. Sound had just been invented in the late 20s. And cinema was still... all of like the tropes and all of the conventions and all of the cliches that we take for granted now were still being invented in the 1930s. And so there were movies that were similar to things we have now, done in entirely different ways because nothing had become conventional. And everyone was inventing stuff for the first time. And now that we're focusing on films in the 1940s, a lot of great movies in it, but the 1940s had a different personality. One, some of those conventions had started to congeal a bit and become a bit more cemented, partly because of the production code and there were fewer things you could experiment with. But also a lot of the 1940s was really dominated by World War II, if not directly, then indirectly. And in the American and the British world of cinema, which is what I'm most familiar with from the era, that's a lot of propaganda films. That is a lot of films that were very interested in bucking people up and having a very particular tone. And that's fine. It's great. And a lot of great movies came out of it. Also a lot of bad ones, but you can say that for any decade. But it's less interesting for me to discover than the 1930s were overall. That said, still a lot of great movies. I'm excited. We're planning to do the next episode next week. So awesome. Like give or take, we know we're like a little bit late on it because September ended up being a really busy month, but I'm working on it right now, and there's good stuff out there, and there's good stuff ahead. But in general, yeah, I think I prefer the 1930s to the 1940s personally.
Yeah, I didn't think so because I thought I preferred the 40s, but after watching all this stuff with you, I'm kind of in the same boat right now. We'll see once we get through the 40s again. Yeah. And thanks for shouting out Psycho Gorman. That's like a good Canadian flick. So yeah. Anyway, thank you. Thanks everyone for letting me on, and I hope to talk to you in your hangouts. Not to plug your stuff.
We'll have another one later this month, and thank you so much. It's so great to have you as a fan. You're really great. Thank you.
Oh no, thank you, Bibbs. Oh my God, is this going to be one of those? No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you, everyone. No, you hang up. All right.
Bye, Ryko.
Ryko. Oh, yeah, he certainly does. You know who else rocks is the second patron. We're also hopping in as well. This is going to be Chris, a.k.a. Drunken Prayer.
Hi.
Hey, Bibbs.
Hi, good to see you.
Yeah, I could have sworn you'd been on this show before, but it must have been Outlaw Nation that I saw you before then.
It was Outlaw Nation, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, well. Hey, nice to see you again.
Hey, so what can I do you for?
I don't know.
Cool.
I'm just here to annoy. I'm just here to annoy the host. I'm just here to annoy the host, really.
You just want to hang out? Yeah, we can hang out for a minute. Sure. Why not?
No, they're in a hurry to get to the rest of their show, Bibs. So I'm just going to ask you, who's your favorite final girl / scream queen?
Oh, that's a great question. I do have an answer for that. It's Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, but the Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I think it's Carolyn Williams plays her. She's a radio disc jockey who, at the beginning of the movie, someone calls in and is like killed on the radio, and so she's investigating it. She's such a great character. She's so smart. She's so capable, and she's put through hell. And the transformation that she goes through by the end of that movie is so tragic, but also kind of badass. And I think it's a really, really great, underappreciated final girl, which is the name of a trope, by the way.
But that's
my favorite. That's my favorite, I think. Yeah. And I got to meet her once, and she was really, really cool.
Oh,
that's the best.
Yeah.
Always nice to get to meet people. Always nice when you find out celebrities are nice people.
Yeah, it's real. And usually they are. Every once in a while. Yeah, but usually they're pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so
much
for the question.
Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for the great question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude. We'll see you soon. And hey, speaking of famous people who are very kind, William the Beast Bibbiani
I'm not
You're
that
certainly famous. You're famous in these parts, at
Okay.
least. And you have been incredibly kind with your time and with your answers to all of our questions, silly as they may be sometimes. We really appreciate you coming on, man.
Well, thank you, and it's again a real honor. Thank you so much for having me on. Great questions, great listeners. Thank you to everyone in the audience. Thank you everyone in the chat. Very special thank you to the patrons. You know, we have a Patreon for Critically Acclaimed, and without it, we wouldn't exist. I know how important it is, and I also know how difficult it is sometimes to keep Patreon in your budget. So everyone who is a patron for this show that we're watching right now, thank you so much. It means a lot to everybody, I'm sure of it, and just thank you for supporting the talent and the shows that you care about, because it's hard sometimes. It's really, really hard.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to ask, we've talked a little bit, of course, about Saltcat Soaps. We've talked a little bit about your podcasting. Is there anything else you would like to plug?
What else do I need? Okay, so here's the deal. We got in addition to Saltcat Soap, please follow us on Instagram and Twitter, on Facebook as well. Saltcat Soap, all one word. And we're on Etsy. You look for Saltcat Soap, although there's a link in all of our social medias. That's all there. We put out new soaps on the first Saturday every month, but we do have some surprises throughout the month, and you'll find out about that if you follow us on social. But mostly what I do is I do some reviews for the Wrap, but I have a podcast network with Whitney Seibold of the Cursed Dungeon. But we have a lot of shows over on Critically Acclaimed. Many of them are free. We review new releases on our show, Critically Acclaimed. We read our listener email and debate and talk about those topics on We've Got Mail. We have a show where we watch an older movie on streaming as selected by our patrons. That's called Critically Reclaimed. And we have a show called Cancel Too Soon, where we review TV shows that lasted only one season or less. Those are all free. And then on Patreon, we have exclusive shows. We talked about one of them just now. It's called Only the Best. We review every single film ever nominated for Best Picture. We're in the 1940s right now. We've already reviewed a ton of movies. But we also have all our yesterdays. We review every single episode of Star Trek in order. So we've already gone through the original series, the animated series, the first 4 movies, and now we're halfway through season 1 of Next Generation. So if you would sign up for that, you'd have about 100 episodes in the backlog already. That's 100 hours of podcast just ready for you. We have a show called Holy Batman with a W, like entirely Batman. We're reviewing every single episode of the 1960s Batman. We do commentary tracks. We have hangouts every single month. It's a lot of stuff, and honestly, I got to get back to it. So that's at patreon.com/critically acclaimed network. Big special shout out. I know some of our patrons overlap. That means a lot to us. It's nice to see the love being shared across various platforms. But if you haven't checked us out, patreon.com/critically acclaimed network. We really appreciate having you over there. And either way, thanks for being a Schmoedown fan. If you're watching this, you surely are. You make the Schmoedown what it is. We're very grateful to you. And I hope, whether I win win the tournament and keep the belts or crash and burn, I hope to keep seeing you here because I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to keep asking to see you here at the very least. Even if you got KO'd in every single match for the rest of the year, we'd still love to see you any and all times because you are such a ray of just brilliance and light in this game. And we're always so happy to see you. We also want to let you get back to the rest of your Saturday, though. So, again, thank you so much, but we hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend.
I'm going to go out and buy cat litter.
Heck
That's
yeah.
what I'm doing next. It's really important, actually. All right, so thank you, everybody, once again, and have a great Halloween season, and enjoy the Schmoedown, and thanks for being wonderful hosts. You're all fantastic.
Oh,
thanks so much, babes.
Thank
Pleasure.
you so much, man.
Growl, growl.
Growl, growl.
What a gem. What an absolute
That's
gem.
on the checklist. That's definitely on the checklist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a moment for us, gang. Oh, boy. Well,
I don't think you're going to get rid of any of our smiles right now. We're all beaming.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that might is a tough match. Is a toughie that we have to talk about now. Because we do have one final match to talk about. Is the pay-per-view. There's Robert Parker of the Dungeon going up against Saul of the Den for the IG Tournament Finals. And, yes, spoiler warning. As the bottom of the screen says, we're about to talk about it. We've hinted at it once or twice, but now it's time to dig into it. And that is going to be Boggs' honor to talk about this match. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Me again. Damn it. So, big match, pay-per-view, obviously tournament final of the IG tournament. 5 rounds. First of all, great to have a cutscene, with Wit and Kaiser. Wit trying to stepping in, and he gets caught red-handed. Does a runner. I'm not surprised. I'd do the same. I'd run for Kaiser. That was super fun. And Saul with. I didn't get it at first. Like when he was arguing with the kid, I thought, why is he arguing with the kid? And then until the kid goes, "You're going down," so I was like, "Oh, that's Parker." Okay, right, I get it now. So I was super slow with that, but yeah, it was super fun. And then going into the match, really tough first round for both, I felt. But it tends to be in IG, whether it's for the belt or number one contender match, and Saul kind of finished on 6 and Parker on 8. I just thought at that moment that was lucky for Saul, because just to try and keep it as close as he could, meaning that Parker could have potentially got a perfect round and bonus, and kind of writings may have already been on the wall. But yeah, some really hard questions. But even Parker's answers were close as well. I felt like he was just when he gets Maisie Williams instead of Maisie, is it Lockhart? For the Jurassic Park question, just like little things like that. I just felt like something was it was a bit of a shocker, the first round, or a bit of a surprise, I should say. But John, any overall thoughts on the match so far, the promo, and the round one?
Yeah, the promo was delightful. I mean, it's always nice to see these little snippets of what these folks are able to do when they're all able to be in the same room together, and especially knowing that the faction system is going to get a big shakeup. It'll be interesting to see how this Wit versus Kaiser shenanigan plays out. As far as round one, I did not think it was going to go the way that it was going to go, because what we've seen so far in this Inner Geekdom tournament is that the writers have really stepped it up for, it seems like, specifically round one questions. Like, I feel like we've had multiple matches in this tournament where we've talked about, like, oh my gosh, just the caliber of questions that these folks are being asked. And you're definitely right. Like, Parker's misses were still like fairly close, like with the Maisie Williams thing. But like, again, like even as somebody that likes some comic book movies, likes some Inner Geekdom movies, all of this went over my head, every single bit of it. So I'm looking at 8 and 6. And I'm like, that's nothing. That's especially in a 5-rounder, because that's, well, in what is technically a 5-rounder match. I was like, this thing is far from over, Boggs.
Yep, at this point, because we know in the second round, I believe Saul is the leader of steals in the game. So, if Parker did drop anything, so I didn't think he would, to be honest. But if he did, could have went multiple choice and missed, something like that. And, Saul would hopefully steal, but Saul goes first. He ends up landing on Swashbuckling Films. He elects to stay, only gets 2 points. This was a bit of a shock. The last 3 questions, he did go multiple choice on the first 2. The last 3 questions, he did get them all incorrect. It was a bit rough to watch. I felt so sorry for him as it was happening, because he does a circuit. He's done great character work this year. Had so many wins, gave us a lot of highlights this year, and just seeing that happen, I was really sad, to be honest. But Parker, played great. He did his job. Stole them up. Parker had his go. Lands on Heroes and Villains. Goes through his round, did go multiple choice a couple of times. Round ends 22-8. So at this point, writing was on the wall for me. But so what is your overall thoughts on the match so far, particularly this round 2, and kind of the dramatic stuff that happened?
Yeah, writing was on the wall for me as well. And it was really surprising with Saul being so confident with picking Swashbuckling, because we saw him against Amaru. I forget which category he landed on, but he chose that as quickly as well and didn't do so hot on it. So I really think maybe for Saul going forward is probably just taking some time to be like, do I really want this category or not? Because the times that he's picked the categories so quickly, he hasn't done so hot in it. And that's what, and especially 2 times live match in front of a crowd where you picking very quickly, not doing so well.
I gotta be honest with you, gang. I don't know if you felt this, but I almost felt like by the time the Ronald Lacey question came around, because he answered that fairly quickly, I was almost like, I can't tell if this is a moment of him being like, no, I'm confident. I feel like I actually do have the answer on this one. But part of me was also like, is this a throw at this point? Like, is this a point where he's gotten like so exasperated where he's just like, yeah, I don't know, man. Because we've seen it happen sometimes. Obviously, Jeff Snyder being the oft-cited example of this.
Against Bibbs, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I was almost like curious at this point. I was like, "Oh, buddy, no, please!" Like, because this was a ugh. I mean, it's a shame to say because, like, obviously, by no means is Saul a bad Inner Geekdom player. Like, he wouldn't have made it to the finals if he was bad. He's a good Inner Geekdom player. This was a bad day.
Yeah, it was kind of like what he's been doing to other people to happen onto him.
Yeah.
So it was like really weird karma happening.
He was the real reject in this match.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, and obviously round 3 happens. You know, they spin at Transformers, I believe. He did gain some ground. You know, he gets 1 point, 3 points, and obviously Parker bets 2. So that round finishes 24-11. Then kind of the round 4 happens. So they kind of both land on some and miss some. The last point was a little weird, I did feel, because he kind of gave 2 answers, but they kind of accepted. I had to double check with Saul because, you know, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter guy, so I had to double check.
He was correct.
Yeah, he gave like kind of 2 answers. I was a bit unsure why they ended on that specific one, but the score was so wide at this point, it didn't really matter. It could have been that question, the next question. It was way more than 10 anyway. It was too much at this point going into the round 5. So I think they only got to the 4th question of round 4.
Yeah.
Parker wins by KO. So I do have a thought, but I want to hear your guys' overall thoughts on the match first. I think I have it. No, I don't know. I just have a tip for Saul. I know he probably doesn't want to hear it, but maybe because, you know, there's now there's a question of, you know, digital against studio, right? Now it's like, how is he KOing everyone in studio matches and losing by TKO and KO in a studio match? So, you know, people have theories or guesses. I have a bit of a silly one, but please, John, any overall thoughts on the match and any maybe a theory of that or anything?
Sure. I mean, first of all, definitely I want to shout out Jen Sturger. As Kaiser mentioned, she's the best at what she does. And she was the one who brought up this idea of like, maybe it is this issue of digital versus live. Like, I think if I'm correct, Saul got kind of like noticed or kind of on the board by calling in to the Collider Live. So I think maybe there is that element of like that to a certain extent, like this idea of kind of like getting in remotely is kind of his home field advantage. And so maybe, again, it's just like the fact that, you know, he has to then like travel up and get like he's always dressed impeccably as well, which you got to do, especially if you're up against Robert Parker in the suit. Like, you know, he's got a lot of the elements like on paper. Dude is a crisp and clean, seasoned player. So it is just sort of this thing where it's like I watch a performance like this and it almost just doesn't compute. Where it computes on Robert Parker's end of just being very strong because, like, this is kind of what dude has been touted to do since the beginning. Like, this performance is almost kind of, like, overdue in a weird sense. Where, like, yeah, here's the moment where we're seeing that Parker that we got teased as, like, one of the number 1 picks. Or I think it was, like the 2nd pick overall for the dungeon, something like that. So it's like, this is almost expected. Whereas Saul, I'm just like, yeah, maybe it's the live in-studio match element. Maybe it's the fact that he thought that baby he was yelling at in his promo was, in fact, Robert Parker. So when he showed up and Robert was a lot bigger, maybe he was just like, what the hell? Who was I talking to? I don't know exactly. But, yeah, so I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm definitely also curious in Box's theory.
I made it too dramatic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You've really built this up, buddy.
You actually partly covered it there, which I'm going to finish it off. But, yeah, so any kind of thoughts or theories? Because it is super confusing. Like, winning 4 this year, I think 4-2 record, 4 wins by KO, and then getting, you know, KO'd himself now. So, yeah, any thoughts?
First, I just want to say, Khan.
I saw that too.
Is Parker that much bigger than a baby, though?
Cruel.
Love it. I guess maybe, and it's the way competitors have done with the newer slices this year, is that we still really don't know how much time they've given to these newer slices, because if what he said is correct with Saul, that he's been studying the regular Inner Geekdom even before he's ever been a part of Inner Geekdom for a long time, that now with these newer slices, I guess there's less time focused on them. And you saw, I believe it was one of the newer slices that got him when he played Amaru, and now it's a swashbuckling that's getting him here. So it's, I guess maybe the newer slices are just getting to people, and we need to see how the newer slices do next year after they've had a full year of studying these slices.
Maybe. I don't remember what he spun against Amaru. It might have been Batman. Maybe someone in the chat can.
Or was it
put us-
Superman? Maybe it was one. Of
I
the
think he's
other.
used that in a digital match to win,
Gotcha.
if I remember correctly. But yeah, I'm not a bit hazy on that. But yeah, what I was saying was that. So I'm a football man, as I like to call myself, meaning that I've played football my whole life. Study you kind of amateur study sports psychology, body language, behaviors, things like that, right? And when I'm looking at Saul, okay, in the Amaru match, for me he was nervous from the start, from the walkout, right? In this match he was less nervous, but he still looked tight, right? And you mentioned it there, John. He looked extremely sharp in his suit. I think that adds to his tense thing, because he's got a tight shirt on, he's got a tie on, he's got a waistcoat, he's got a blazer, there's lights, he's in a studio, #1 contender match, your kind of factions riding on you. He looks just so tight and wound up. Like, I think maybe he should, I'm not even like joking, he should wear something else, like something relaxing, not so like pressure. He looks like he's got pressure on his chest when he's playing. So I don't know if that would help or anything, but yeah, I just noticed that he doesn't look comfortable. Yeah, I know Parker's wearing a suit, and he played badass and stuff, but don't forget he's played a studio match in a suit before when he kind of whooped Ace that time. So he's got like good memories in a suit. I don't know, I just find that little stuff weird. So I just find it like it was a tight fitted suit. He looked great, absolutely, but I just think that's not necessarily too just like the smartest kind of way to approach a game. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I do notice things like that. Like, he looked dressed impeccably. Yeah, I've seen other players. Yeah, like dressing. I don't know if that would work for him, but I just something that I noticed. Like, oh, he's like, he looks just like so. He's just adding pressure. The tie, the shirt, the waistcoat, the blazer. I thought he's like, there's too much on his physically, like weighing on him. So I just found that interesting. But this is my random theory that I thought, John.
Sure. Well, and it certainly sounds like we will be seeing Saul again next year. Obviously, Kate still ride or die with Saul, which makes sense. Again, dude is a good player. Skate Weather in the chat, I believe you are correct. I think it was Planet of the Apes that gave Saul pause. That sounds right, because that's certainly a tough category, yeah. But that means now that we know Robert Parker is going to be playing either Mike Kalinowski or Amadou Moses for the Inner Geekdom belt, which could be huge ground for either the Dungeon, Corruption, or Usual Suspects. Again, 3 of these factions that are really in that contention right now, most seriously, anyway, for the faction standing. And obviously, we still have 2 other tournaments that now have to happen before we get to Spectacular. We have a whole singles tournament with multiple people left. So I am kind of curious, what do y'all think as far as like the overall impact of this Inner Geekdom tournament is going to wind up being when it comes to faction standings end of the year?
Ladies first.
I have to think a little bit on that question, so I'm going to throw it to you first, Bugs.
I don't know, just on the match itself, a great match, by the way. Like Amaru or Mike against Parker, like, I mean, the way Parker's playing at the moment, like against Parker, it's like he's maybe going to miss 1-2 questions a match. Not even 2 questions. Like, he'll go multiple choice. It's like, how are you going to miss less than him? That's all it is. He's going to hit 95% of his points available. How many are you going to hit? That's the level that he's at. I think against Chandru, I know it was only 3 rounds, but I think they both missed 1 in the first round. Parker went 1 multiple choice in the second round. That was it. That's the level that you're at. If you're below that, you're 100% going to lose. So that's just the level. It's scary good. So I might kind of pick Parker against any one of them. So I don't know what he'll do in the faction stuff, but because I kind of need to see who wins out of Amaru and Mike. But yeah, super interesting either way.
Yeah.
I think if Amaru wins, then I have no idea between him and Parker, because I think that will just be a really interesting thing. I guess, like, I have so much faith in Mike, and just he's been a staple, and I kind of disagree with Roka too. I think I'd put him on my top 4 for.
Do not tell him that.
Sorry, Roka. So I gotta go Mike.
That's more than fair. Well, and thankfully, it's going to be a little bit of time before I hold you hard and fast to your predictions for that whole shakeup. And I certainly think that if Mike winds up winning against Amaru, that's really going to kind of zip things up for Corruption. But before Before we dig into that, matches that I am going to hold you to your predictions to are the ones that are coming up this week. If y'all didn't see, Christian Harloff has dropped the schedule for the rest of October, so we know it's going to be coming down the pipeline. And we have 5 stellar matches to talk about, which, of course, we can't do before A, we bring on our dear producer, Sean Barreto, onto the screen with us, if he's able to. There he is. And then B, we do have to go over what the current standings are when it comes to us 5 and our picks and how successful they are or are not.
So we got John and Mike again with another perfect week. I think this is 3 in a row.
I'm on a slight streak right now. I don't think it'll last, but I'm riding it as far as I can.
You're not that far behind me. We have Mike with 27, John with 70, myself with 76, Sean with 78, and Boggs with 86. I was joking with Boggs earlier today. I was like, what if John is the corruption of the Ultimate Schmoedown show and he just comes in back half?
Remind me how many John has?
John has 70.
Okay.
16 points. It could happen.
I mean, 1 at a time, John. You deal with these lot first, right? And then,
Okay.
You're doing good.
Wow.
Last 3, perfect's away.
Well, goodness. Well, right off the bat, we have 5 matches that we're going to be talking about right now. So that's a 5 points on the board for maybe one of us. Like I said, 4 of these matches involving corruption. The first of which is the Star Wars tournament match we're getting next week, which is going to be Joseph Scrimshaw of the aforementioned corruption going up against Gold Leader, who made his debut this year for the Finstock Exchange. I'm going to be honest. I give this one to Gold Leader. I think this is the one that's more concisely zipped up against corruption because I feel like neither the faction nor Scrimshaw as a human being need this as much as either the Finstock Exchange or Gold Leader do. So I think that's going to be the drive factor that gives Gold Leader the win in this match. Boggs, what about you?
Gold Leader for sure. Do really like Scrimshaw, but I think the division has changed a little bit since last year with the whole Dragon Con guys, having so much more like horribly in-depth questions. Is he I don't know. So especially Gold Leader, he's played a number of times this year. Scrimshaw's coming in cold. I'm not sure. So yes, I'll go for Gold Leader. Plus, he pushed Harper all the way. He played great. So I'm looking forward to him to do some damage this tournament.
Absolutely. And I will say, Scrimshaw had a great match last year going in cold, but he did happen to just come up 1 point short against the Finstock Exchange player.
Great. Mm-hmm.
So that's again that's the 4D chess I'm trying to play. Soul, I'd love to hear your pick, and then also Mike, other producer Mike Shea's pick, because I believe he put them in the document as well.
He put in Scrimshaw, and I'm going to agree with him because other than Demolanta, the person that has pushed Alex the most, Damon, in a title match is Joseph Scrimshaw. And then also, he came in great last year cold. I think he's going to come in again really great cold. He does have his Star Wars podcast that he's been doing forever. So I'm going Scrimshaw. He needs the win.
There we go. That's a 2-2 split right now at the moment. Sean, it falls on your shoulders. Break this tie. Who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I coming in cold can work in your advantage, but for me, I don't like the idea that we've gone through. We're in October now, and he's just getting his first match of the year. That doesn't sit well with me, considering like Gold Leader has played several matches already, and plus Gold Leader has already had a very good showing, obviously against Demolanta. So with all those factors, I have to go Gold Leader as well.
That's fair. There we go. That is the 3-2 split over here. We're calling Gold Leader the winner of that match. As we then move on to the teams tournament, where we have Deception, the corruption team made up of Adam Collins and Marisol McKee, the current singles champion, gone up against Chaos Theory, Jacoby Bancroft and Nick Harley, 2 people from perhaps the unluckiest faction we've seen this year. Boggs, who do you have winning?
No way I'm going against Deception. Just on paper, just on the pure, on the look of things, you can't rule out them two against. I know they're a rookie team, but I know they have had one match, but still a rookie team. Like the current champ against former champ. No, I'm definitely going Deception.
There we go. Soul, who do you have?
For the exact same reason, go on Deception.
Did Mike also put Deception?
He did.
There we go. Sean, who do you have winning?
I mean, I there's no way you can't pick Deception in this kind of matchup. I think with the current champ and a former champ, it'd be very hard. They're a very tough team to beat at this point. So, especially with this matchup, I think you have to go Deception.
Certainly, I do. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to have to agree with y'all. This is going to be a 5-way sweep for us over here at the show. We're voting Deception. We do want to make sure we give Chaos Theory their due. Obviously, Jacoby Bancroft has been killing it since his introduction. Nick Harley, haven't seen a lot of him, but dude was the FCL champion for a hot second. So I can't discount this team. But again, yeah, they have not been so lucky when it comes to racking up wins, and now they're having to go up against a former and current singles champ. There's room for an upset, certainly. Like, I would not call this a one-and-done deal for Deception, but I am going to pick them anyway. As we move on to our next match, hey, speaking of, it's Adam Collins. This time around in singles, going up against Brendan Meyer of the Quirky Mercs. This one is going to be a tight race. I had to think about this long and hard before I could make any kind of decision. Saul, who did you have winning? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, these two played each other last year. Is that correct as well in the singles tournament? So,
this is so hard, John. Why are you going to me first?
Because it's in order. I'm sorry about it. If you want, you can give Mike's pick first as a way to give yourself some time.
Yeah, Mike is going Brendan. You know, he might want some revenge there. I'm going to go Brendan too.
There we go. That's 2 picks for Brendan the Kid Meyer. Sean, who do you have?
This is so tough to pick. Boy. I thought I had this decided in my head, but now I just like thinking about it more. I have no idea. You know what? I'm gonna agree with Saul. I think there's an upset to be had here. I think the kid is playing well. Obviously, he's part of the team champs. I think we're gonna get an upset here. I'm gonna go Brendan.
There we go. I mean, I wouldn't call it too much of an upset. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion,
but I'm pretty sure Collins is the favorite. If you know, but
well, he's certainly the favorite to me because I'm picking him. I think certainly Adam Collins. You know, obviously he lost to JTE, which folks were calling upset of the year there for a hot second, which I think a little disrespectful to JTE, but fair enough. Obviously, Adam Collins losing that match, people expected him to win. I think this, though, is where Adam Collins has gone back on the warpath. I mean, it's tough. I don't think he's going to win the tournament again this year because I think it's foolish to predict the same person winning 2 years in a row. It's why I didn't think that Ace was going to wind up winning the Star Wars tournament earlier this year. So I don't think Adam Collins is going to win it total, but I do think he's going to get a win here just because I feel like Brendan Meyer keeps getting, like, close when it comes to singles, but there's always, like, some kind of roadblock. And I think this year it just happens to be Adam Collins. But Bugs, who do you think is going to win?
I'm going to go Collins. Good match though. Yeah, I just feel like Adam's going to kick on now with his singles run, with the team's run. I just think now it's his time in the season. And I think Sean mentioned about Adam being the favorite. Adam will be the favorite probably for every match for the rest of his life. So based on last year's run. So but it's not an upset. It's like 50-50 match. But yeah, I'm super intrigued. But I will go for Collins just based on kind of tournament runs and things like that.
It's a 51-50 match. It's going to be whoever winds up getting that one extra perfect is going to get it. Thank you, Sean, for liking my jokes. Next up, gang, we've got our first of the 2 live matches, as in live pay-per-view, October 9th. It's going to be Josh Horowitz of the Quirky Mercs and Griffey Nooms of the Finstock Exchange, 2 of the people that have been especially touted as potential rookies of the year. Sean, I'm going to start with you because you like my jokes the most. Who do you think is going to win this match?
Well, I mean, considering it's in my hometown, and it's in my home borough, Brooklyn. How are you going to pick against Griffey Nooms? I mean, come on.
Oh,
come on.
There you go.
It's his town. It's his city. He's a contender for Rookie of the Year. I think this is going to help cement his case for being nominated for that award for sure. Winning it's another story, but I think, come on, how can you not pick Griffey Nooms? Come on.
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like Josh Horowitz has almost kind of been like in certain degrees the like king of surprises, you know? Where I feel like sometimes the win, like I feel it more with him than with Griffey, where the wins that Josh gets, I'm more like, oh my gosh, no, he really did that. And I feel like so in my mind, there's a little bit more of kind of like an element of just impressiveness for me when it comes to Horowitz. But then when you're facing someone like Griffey Nooms, who is sort of like the unstoppable force, partner of King Khan there, it's tough because, like, again, I was like, yeah, not only has Griffey now proven he can get some W's against some fearsome competitors in singles and in teams, but he was one of the people that went the distance in that free-for-all. I think I'm going to have to give it to Griffey Nooms. And this is, I think, the match that'll somehow be even closer than Collins versus Meyer. I think we've got 2 potential matches of the year within this week, which is crazy. But I am going to go with Griffey Nooms. Boggs, who do you have?
I'm literally echoing everything you've said there. Yeah, like Nooms for them reasons. Like when he does it, when he plays, I'm like super impressed. Like, wow, like he knows like such random stuff. And when Horowitz plays, it's more like shock, like, oh, really? Like he knows that, like, so it's a bit of a weird thing to watch. Like you're impressed, but I'm more impressed with Nooms, I'd say, even though they look great. So I got some good wins, but yeah, I'm going Nooms.
See, this is super interesting because I'm on a winning streak right now.
You've changed. You've changed. It's like a light bulb has gone off.
Well, but it's important to note that you're also on a losing streak right now as far as getting like the least number correct. And so far, we have picked the exact same people. Yeah. So this is going to be very interesting.
I think he's
copying you. Yeah, I have to. Right?
Copying you.
Right?
John's getting too close to me, so I have to.
See, that's when I really no. So, who do you have, and does Mike have? Excuse me.
So Mike doesn't have his picks for this one or the next one, so we'll get those out on maybe Twitter later. But I'm also going Griffey Nooms. I think just the way you play, the way he plays, what you guys were explaining, and also like the random facts about like the movies he says while he's playing. So it's not just that he has the answer, it's that he also knows like why he got to that answer. And just his thought process is just fascinating to hear when he's playing. So I'm going Griffey Nooms.
Absolutely. There we go. Yeah, Mike did send something in the Facebook chat, but it was accidentally just
what the match
2
was.
names that are in the next match. So there's a typo somewhere, but it could literally be in any direction. So I simply don't know. God bless Mike Shea. But gang, speaking of, we got that final match to talk about, a singles title match between Marisol McKee and Chance Ellison. The Corruption Invitational once again. I'm going to be frank with y'all. I have to pick Marisol McKee. There's no world in which I don't pick Marisol McKee. So I'm picking Marisol McKee. And there's not much discussion there, and I know, and I'm sorry, but also we're at 2 hours, 22 minutes.
I wonder why, John. Why are you picking
It's him? Because I'm from the city of Philadelphia, and sometimes it's as simple as that. But also, she's very good. Boggs, who do you have?
Very tough. I do, if I'm objectively saying, I do feel like Marisol is an out-and-out better singles player than Chance, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I'm going for Chance to win this. I think he is, as a challenger, it's his chance, pun intended, to win. Obviously, Marisol's already now climbed that mountain. And yeah, he might not get another opportunity where, and he has played good. He beat Brendan, he's beat JT and Snyder. There's some big wins. So he might need a bit of luck. She, like I said, she's pretty formidable. And how she played against, against Irwin, she played stellar. So definitely going to need some luck. But I just think maybe the questions might fall his way. And, he's one of my favorite players, and I hope he does it.
There we go. Saul, who do you have winning?
I'm also going Marisol McKee, and I just want to shout out Jeremy Miller right now. I really like his comment because I have Marisol, but predicting Oyama cashes in to make it a triple threat so Corruption doesn't get automatic points. S.W.A.G might play spoiler.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Logistical nightmare with the number of flights that has to happen, but I can't say I don't
say that
love
for a split
that
second.
idea.
No.
Oh. Goodness. Well, Sean, let's tie this up. Who do you have?
I mean, I think this is going to be a very good match. But like selfishly, I want Marisol to win because I would like to see her play whoever comes out of the tournament as spectacular because I'm going to be there. But I honestly think even if putting that aside, I think I agree with Boggs. Marisol is a better singles competitor than Chance is. If this was IG, it'd be a different story. If it was teams, different story maybe. But in terms of just singles, going 5 rounds, I mean, I think Marisol is just on a streak that I'm not quite sure anyone can top at this point this year. So I just got to pick Marisol. And plus, I also wanting it to happen as well.
Certainly. And then I just saw this comment here in the chat. John Post. I think I would lean towards Chance. Do you think if he wins, would he land himself in the top 10 all-time players?
Good question.
I mean, he's a
Top
teams champion now. He competed for the Inner Geekdom belt, and if he was singles champion, I don't know necessarily top 10, but like I would say I feel like he'd be like 11 or 12. You know what I mean?
I think because considering he's won the team's titles multiple times, if he ever were to win the singles title or the IG title, I think considering he'd be if he does that, then yes, you have to put him in top 10. You have to.
I would say top
right
10,
now, no.
Top 10 if he wins and then defends against whoever wins this current singles tournament. If you're able to do both of those things, considering how much heat is in the singles tournament, I think then I would probably be having to put him in my top 10.
That's fair.
I think currently right now he's just outside the top 10, just getting to both to fight for a belt in 2 different divisions and winning the belt multiple times in one division. But yeah, I think I have to agree. He's not quite in the top 10 yet, but he's very close.
What do you think, Boggs?
Great question, John Post, whoever that was. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. Hell yes, he'll be in the top 10. No question. You're telling me like title shot in IG, winning the IG tournament, 2-time team champion, lost obviously another he had a title shot as well this year, then wins a single belt. Come on, like who's doing that currently? Maybe Mike, maybe Erwin, you could say as well, but not had title shots in like back-to-back seasons in multiple divisions. He'd be the only player doing that, like active player at 100% top 10. I mean, people in the top 10, probably in my own top 10 is I'd put maybe some one-time champions in there. So him, that would be his 3rd title, 100%. But yeah, great question.
Honestly, I think I've been swayed to Boggs because now that I'm like really thinking about it, I'm like,
yeah, if you think your own
who
top
are
10
those players?
and then what Chance has done against them, you got to. Yeah.
I think maybe we'll do that one day. Like if it's another like show where we don't have like guests, maybe that's what we'll do. Is we'll come to the table with our personal top 10s.
Yeah. I also said right now he's not in the top 10.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He could very easily break it by the end of the year for me.
He might be my number 10. See, I'm gonna make this list now.
No,
I'm gonna have to make a list.
No, John, can't do it now.
He could possibly be number 10. But right now I'm saying safely that he's not in the top 10 because I need to make my list. And then he could easily be more than number 10, like higher.
I think this is a debate that we'll have in the off season. We'll have a specific show where we all rank our top 10 Schmoedown players of all time. I think book it now during the off season. We'll definitely have a show dedicated specifically to that. But not now.
His producer hat on.
Yes, even though I'm not wearing a hat, but done. That's it.
There we go. Well, before we talk too much about the off season of this show, let's talk about the off season of this episode. Gang, it's over. It's done. This episode is all wrapped up. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to everybody who sent us a Streamlab or a super chat. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to join the Patreon. That's the best way to support us, and we always appreciate being able to talk to y'all as you come on. Thank you so much to everybody who's been commenting along. You can also leave comments underneath this video once it is no longer live, and then we'll read them out at the start of next show. It's a never-ending cycle of us just getting to talk to you all the time. It's great. That is going to be it. Aside for plugs, Sean, what would you like to plug?
Thank you for everybody who came in today. Thank you for Bibbs, first time on. Sounds like he had a good time, so hopefully we can get him on again. Thank you for Colin for coming back on again. You can just follow me on Twitter at my first and last name, Sean Barreto, even though I don't tweet a lot, but you can follow me anyways. And just check me out on the pop culture universe. We're doing what if reviews, doing some movie reviews, trailer reviews. So just check it out. We have fun.
There we go. Soul, what would you like to plug?
Also plug Pop Culture Universe, and then just again Salt Cap Soap. Look at how cute that was. I got a personalized note when it came to me. It's adorable. They smell great. I can't wait to actually use them.
There we go. Shout out to Soap. Boggs, what would you like to plug?
Yeah, just shout out to the King Khan. Want to give a special thanks to Bibbs. That was really cool having him. I can just listen to him talk about movies. Like, I don't care what the subject is. Like, it's just, I'm gonna maybe check out some of his podcasts that he was talking about. And yeah, Pop Culture Universe, like Sean's saying, and follow my agent as well on Twitter, Sean Barreto on Twitter. But yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone. But yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll see you guys next week. I'm not sure 100% what time we're going next week. Obviously, we can tweet that out or whatever, because obviously the live show, I believe, is at 4 p.m. PST next week. The live pay-per-view that is. Yeah. So yeah, so we'll have to have a look at that. But yeah, we'll tweet that out.
There we go. As for me, at John Barr Tweets on Twitter and Instagram, John_Barr at TikTok, twitch.tv/John Barr. I'm in a bunch of different places. Find me wherever. And again, shout outs to Soap. Let's just say it again. It's important. Doesn't get said enough. And we're glad William the Beast Bibbiani was able to join us to talk about the importance of soap and what you can smell like this Halloween season. But hey, that is now all said and done for this show. Thank you so much for joining us. I was so close to being done with the intro. And we will see you next week at some to be explained time. Have a good one.
Yeah, John.
Would it be exit-tro instead of an intro?
I thought I said outro. That's
Chunky, sing Color Me Bad.
You said intro.
I could, but
I could say anything. So listen.
Yeah, but